We are just at 1 minute after 6. We'll call the meeting to order with a quick roll call.
Sue Erickson,
Here.
Ken May,
Here.
Joel Newman,
Here.
Sean Birdsall,
Here.
Craig Conley.
We consent agenda here, a handful of things, probably a little bit of discussion here and there on it.
Question on the expenses, there's two in there for parks. Is that the Parks and Rec is doing for some grants?
Oh, probably. They bought some equipment,
There's a 5,700 and a 40.
sounds about right.
The grant is gonna cover approximately 6,000 of that,
Okay, so the reason was two entries, is they got two shipments or something.
two different companies.
Oh, okay, all right.
I have two real quick questions on the consent agenda, if you want to entertain those now or not.
Yes, certainly.
We have, proposal for infiltration and inflow and infiltration study. What's the genesis of that?
That comes from the
EPA findings.
EPA findings for us to go do I&I research, I guess.
Okay, excellent, okay.
I remember that one. I don't
No,
remember if
no,
you remember that. Sue from our EPA study, there were 7 things and that was one of them.
Okay,
Are we required to do that by them, by their standards?
yeah, somewhat, yeah, I mean, it's a good.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
I got some questions back on bills. So we don't have an Alliant Energy, but we had a double last month, but that wouldn't be this month's, would it? Last month's day was double. This month's, the only Alliant we have is $26.79.
You haven't gotten the big one yet in the mail. It's
Yeah.
just so early this meeting's early enough. I haven't seen it.
And the Amazon Capital Services has just an account number. Is that a,
It's mostly library. There's a few water sewer.
Mark, the JEO Consulting
Mm-hmm.
for 2,500, that's wrapping up the rest of
let's see,
light industrial.
Probably,
Mhm.
That's at the end of it, not sure done.
it's not done, but
It's not done.
Okay.
We haven't accepted the project yet, so there'll be a few final.
Okay, that's the same thing for Keller.
Yep.
Okay, I thought that was cool.
was that some stuff that we did versus Scott did, or is that like moving, you have to move something behind Iowa Plains?
Not Iowa Plains, but we did do some.
we haven't done that.
The
Stuff on the road?
No, on the, sorry, the pond, that retention pond
Oh.
neighborhood, we did have some
We
stuff
did
there
some
we added
stuff there,
on.
but I don't know if
That was that underground piping instead of.
Because otherwise, most of it would be. The receivers would pay and then get tipped back.
Yep, exactly.
So that's why I'm wondering what was our.
Beavers paid for his, but we paid everything up to his,
Right, that's
and he can get his back if it fills.
right. And then like,
But everything he did he paid for, right?
He
Mhm.
paid for
So
it.
this is just the tail end of ours.
So this would be ours, yeah.
It just drug out a little longer, like.
right,
Yeah, we're not done with it.
Well, and I think everybody should know, one of the things that they did is, which Mark worked with them on, is we made sure that everything's been looked at. Underground, right, camera wise, and been
That's what
looked at,
they have some work to do, to go back and.
make sure.
Yeah,
Okay,
some locate wire on the water side, we're missing out on a short gap, but. They're probably gonna have to dig the road up in one spot on the gravel road to
Okay.
splice back or piece in, whatever they gotta do, but. We're gonna make them do it.
There's still retention on that project, so
so once this is
we
all
haven't
done-
accepted it or paid retention, so.
Okay, once it's all done, can you compile all that so we know what the bid was versus the final ending number?
Or JEO or,
Well, JEO and
For
Keller.
the whole project.
Yeah.
It should be on.
That way we just know where we came out versus bid.
And we approved one change order, I think, at one point.
Yeah, but I assume that would be part of the bid. Mark, I hate to ask this question, the street sweeper.
Yeah. Just routine maintenance.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Just say we can't replace that, are we?
No, and a lot, some of that was parts, new brooms and
Okay.
stuff like
All
that,
right, but I
so.
see $6,000, I'm like,
Yeah.
didn't get to the end of life.
No, that's about
Okay.
A
cost
yearly
estimate.
deal, yeah.
Okay, all right, good.
Yeah.
And the publishing, is that, where's local IQ? Where do we publish now? Is that?
That's the Tri-County Times. This is what they call themselves now.
Oh, it's local IQ.
Mhm.
Mark, municipal supply, $6,000. I don't know.
What's that?
Municipal
Oh.
supply.
Ames
Probably a-
Tribune, sorry.
What's that?
Ames Tribune on the local
Sorry,
IQ,
yeah, sorry.
Oh,
municipal supply.
municipal supply is probably a mix of water meters, could be, there's a
They do all the stuff, the water. Okay.
water sewer,
Yeah.
Lots of stuff. right?
Yep. where all of our water meters come from,
Okay,
plus other stuff.
Some of it's touchpads.
okay. And Mark, I'm sure I asked this years ago, but what's Par Industries for 21 grand?
Is our electrical. The PAR is who we use for.
Oh, they do
company.
electric, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yep.
They just said sewer aeration fund in with that.
Yep.
Oh, is that getting the wiring done?
Yep.
The
For that,
container?
yeah.
I just have one really quick one on resolution 40, which is with our emergency services people. And my understanding is this allows you to bill people's insurance companies when you go out on a call. On the first page here, it says the claim shall be filed to the responsible party through their insurance carrier. In some circumstances, the responsible party will be billed directly. Could you talk about that?
Without having them, explain it. The way I understand it is we will only bill the insurance. That's the only money we're gonna pay from the homeowner. I assume without knowing for sure that we can decline the bill. We only send the ones that we bill are necessary. So, like I said, last time is we had one homeowner call and told us that they had this policy on there and wanted to make sure we got our share. So this company basically knows all those clauses, I guess you could say, that are for emergency services. So I have to see that meeting.
So I think this is, but confirm for me, you would, verify locally who they should bill.
Yeah, we're only
and-
sending them what we feel is one for the.
And it's your intention to not bill responsible parties
Correct.
directly?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
No, that's not.
If they don't have it in their insurance clause, then we would not collect anything.
No, this is just something that came up that other departments are doing that we've never done, and.
no, it makes perfect sense, I just
Not
wanted to
service,
clarify
cost of
based
saying
on
it
what I
back in our
read.
city budget and it's funds you can, that's not on which we don't. get for, house fires, depending on the car issue or car accident. So, and we only file the ones that be necessary, so. It's in car accident, may not turn in, so it's whatever we decide to turn.
Okay, thank you.
While we're talking about that, the part of the problem with that is that that I see, and again, maybe, I don't know, are they available to come here or?
We could do a Zoom meeting.
Is that, insurance company typically would want to see it billed to the homeowner, auto owner in their name before it gets submitted to the insurance company. I mean, a lot of times you don't know who has insurance or who doesn't, or what insurance they have or don't have.
That's up to us to do on the scene, so we would go get the insurance, kind of like the county does, and or we go get it from the county. So that's all we're in through insurance companies. That's the way I understand it.
Yeah.
It's our responsibility to get that information. So, kind of like first responders, they go get all patient information, so we have to go get that information. So,
I've actually heard of some cities that with some of the legislation capping cities' ability to get revenue or access, that they're starting to implement charges for fire protection.
Well, so for instance, the traffic company that we were looking at,
Yeah,
there's a bill in the legislature now to not allow third-party billing. So it's gonna essentially cripple that company's ability to to work for a city like we were talking about having them do, and them do all of the work and get paid. So
So they want to restrict cap our ability to change our income. And they want us to not take on more of the labor.
Yeah.
Interesting.
and cap property taxes at 2%.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, no, it's,
Yeah,
so this potentially is another problem down the road is that they may disallow a third party from doing that. If, you know, I don't know that this is gonna pass, but it's in the state legislature now is not letting those companies have, not letting us contract with a third party to do that.
And, you know, this is something basically, we only file what we wanna file.
Right.
We don't do it for 12 months, so we don't do it single, they
Right.
just, we're done.
Right.
So, I mean, there's.
yeah,
It doesn't cost us anything.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and I have some other questions about it, but maybe we need to cover that separately. I guess I would move that we might pull that out of the consent agenda to find a little bit more information. I'm not against it at all. I just want to know a little bit more of the details about it before we completely sign on to it.
Would you like to remove 40 and 41? And
And just for clarity, 40 is, you have the ability to do it, right, Brent, and then 41 is the hiring the company to do it on your behalf.
yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
would you be willing to just represent council on a Zoom call with him if he was able to schedule it?
Yeah, if nobody else has
To
any
your
questions or interest on it, that's fine.
I read through it, Brand, as long as you're comfortable and there's no downside, no risk to us, then I'm good. Sounds like other people are already doing it.
Yeah.
And the only people right now you're planning is are the insurance company, not the citizens, so they aren't double paying with. Right. No, okay. Right, good. Jen, the only thing I had was, on the resolution 40, they're on section 2, I think maybe it's supposed to say a claim shall be filed by a responsible party instead of 2. So maybe. Page 1 of resolution 40, section 2, right down towards the bottom of the page.
Say that again?
A claim shall be filed to the responsible party, I don't know if that's supposed to be 2 or by. Lawyer language.
page 1.
Page 1 of the resolution 40, down at the bottom, says section 2. Claim shall be filed to or by, I'm not sure what the right word is there.
The responsible party is the one who had the mishap. So.
To the
they
responsibility through their insurance.
Kind of what I was saying is I think you have to do that, even for consistency's sake, you have to bill, I would think you would have to bill them.
Okay.
And then them pass it on to the insurance company, but I don't, and that's. Again, that's part of the questions I had about the details. And then like multiple alarm fires, does that play a role in that? You know, if you show up at somebody else's fire or if somebody else shows up at our fire,
I think there's something in there on that, so.
I didn't see it addressed in this contract at all or anything.
Right.
And what's a water incident?
Water rescue.
Water rescue?
Mhm.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I get some
I think.
Just let me know. It's fine. If
The
nobody else wants to do
the
it.
noise ordinance.
Yeah, I'll get-
You got the
Yeah,
typos
you
in
got
there.
that. Yep.
Guess we should just
If it's
publicly say
easier
it.
and you just want me to kind
We're
of
gonna,
talk to them,
are we waiving the third?
that's fine, but I think
Yeah,
it's
inside of the
good.
house and even,
There's
we'll
a
wait and
couple
have a
others.
third.
It's probably good.
I just wait. Easy.
Yeah, question on the,
Hold on just a second, sorry, Craig,
Nope, they were done.
go ahead, sorry, I didn't. Okay,
On the bank cash report. You showing negative 4 million on your checking account.
Cause all of it's in the money market account.
Yeah. Well, we have a $50,000 balance in there. So I understand it's negative $4 million. That because all the rollover accounts are held against the checking. From the money market.
Yeah, all of the dollars, anything over 50,000 is held in a money market account. 100% of the time.
Okay, but you agree,
The bank keeps it at 50,000 almost daily.
Right.
Jason.
Where's this on the?
I'm on the bank cash report.
Where's this on the consent agenda?
Oh, the financial reports, I thought was part of the consent.
Yeah.
The ones that Jen included.
Wait a minute, come on. You got a paper copy in front of you?
That was part of the attachment to the consent.
Oh, yeah,
It's a simple city.
it's not this one right here.
You're right, it's not in the consent agenda, it's just in your packet for
It's
information.
in the packet
Oh,
as
okay.
part of the.
When's the
I
right
think-
time to discuss it? That's sorry. I thought that was part of the consent agenda.
I would say,
I think they're doing Jen's or something.
you can do it then,
That's right.
that's fine.
Okay, I'll wait till then.
So we wanna pull out 40 and 41, or we don't?
We need to table those.
I'd like,
I
you
moved to. table.
you wanna table those,
Pull and
you wanna
table,
pull and table. out the
table for more
consent.
information, okay.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, there's no sense in doing resolution
Yep,
40 if we're not gonna do 41. So
They go
there's
together.
No sense
They go
putting a
together.
resolution in there.
yep.
Yeah.
I would just note, just so that we noted it, 302, ordinance 302, the noise ordinance, there's some information, some typos to be updated in it.
No, I think it's the wrong one.
And then we'll do a third,
I was gonna bring that up.
okay,
I think that's,
the wrong one, okay.
It's not,
It's not ours.
it's not Kelly's, it just,
well, it says Kelly on it.
I know,
Okay.
that's the typo. is
Okay,
that
but
needs to
the
change the
content
folder.
is wrong also, I believe.
So,
This is the language from what we talked about, February, whatever we. This, I thought this was the wrong figure too.
over 85 decibels to 8 PM to 7 AM. On Sunday through Thursday, and over 95. The decibel levels and times look right to me.
Yep.
Okay.
The offenses look fine. Insert Ken's comment, I don't think the fines are sufficient, but. I do think it's right, I just think the top is wrong with Kelly included, but just want to note that on, so that we have it. Video, note.
Oh.
Any other discussion with
So
anybody?
which one's the,
Second, I pulled up the one from last month.
so Ken made a motion, correct?
Yeah,
So I'll second
Pull.
that motion,
yeah, we're kind of all over the place here.
and can we vote for that part, pulling it and then tabling resolution 40 and 41?
Wondering if we do that in with the. Approve the consent agenda with.
You have to motion to have it pulled,
Well, that's
yeah.
not really-
It's, yeah.
Can we
Okay.
go separately on the noise ordinance? Because I think we don't, I think. This is not the same one as we had in our February packet.
Okay, so. We have the first motion to remove 40 and 41, to table for, remove and table 40 and 41. So we have a motion from Ken, a second from Joel. All those in favor signify with aye. Opposed? And any abstentions? Okay. Now we would like to move. Second reading of ordinance 302 to the business, to the business section. For further discussion, right?
Yeah, I would like to move that we.
Or you want to
approve
table?
the third reading as presented in February. Which is
Second reading, yeah.
not the same as was in our package. And I can pass this down for you once I see it.
What's the,
It has Slater.
can you
in it, so
highlight the difference? What's the big difference? Decibel levels, timing?
Just read it, I can read it. Maximum decibel allowed in the city of Slater is 95 decibels. Maximum is reduced to 65 decibels between the hours of 8 PM to 6:59 AM. Sundays through Thursdays, and 11 PM to 6:59 AM on Fridays and Saturdays. Is that the same as the one?
No,
No, it's different text.
we have 85 and 95 and this one.
Formatted. It's formatted in our format.
Yeah, and this has Slater and everything.
Okay.
So it's just the.
Okay.
So I think maybe just didn't pull up the most current file.
So your motion was to,
My motion
Do the
was to
second
approve
and or
the
third.
third reading of.
Second
Oh,
reading
We're
tonight.
gonna pull it off the
We're on-
consent agenda. And
Yep, then we'll go from there.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's, Sue would like to make a motion to pull it from the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
All those in favor signify with aye.
uh,
Opposed, same sign. Abstentions, okay. We now have approving agenda for tonight, expenditures. February 10th and 24th minutes. Resolution 37, which is the approval engagement letter for Allers and Cooney with the development agreement, Homes by Advantage. That, if you haven't noticed, that lot has been stripped, the trees down. And there's equipment there, they're working on it. We are approving the Snyder and Associates inflow and infiltration study and investigation as discussed previously or in earlier meetings. Later meetings last year. Resolution 39,
Sorry, I'm not keeping up fast. On 37, it says, in the Olive and Cooney in the first paragraph, it says LMI housing development. Right now, they're only doing the initial part, LMI was coming a later date, right?
Questions about that?
that is, yeah, that's, my understanding was we were going to use TIF. Upon a certificate of occupancy. And LMI to be allowable if buyer qualified. Is that,
But I thought the first half was just around, something about the open on sewer, I think. So that's why I was concerned with the. Olive
open
and
with
Cooney agreement.
infrastructure.
Yeah.
There still has to be a developer's agreement, even with the,
Yeah, which I'm fine with the developer agreement, I just didn't know when it was listing the LMI housing component. We don't know if this is gonna be LMI or not. That was the only
It could-
double checking.
it could be something they can help all the way through it.
So we're,
Whether the LMI component only was it, based on the final product, what it's like.
We're not committing to it at
I
this
don't know
point,
where
we're
the
just leaving it
chicken
open
is.
at this.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to make sure of.
Yeah.
We are committing to it by this contract saying LMI.
There's no amounts listed in here, there's
Okay,
no.
alright,
That
I just
all,
wanna be careful about that, because we don't know if it's gonna qualify or
just
not.
leaving the door open for it if it does.
Okay, alright. Then I withdraw my question.
so then we are looking at the approval of the lease agreement 405, who is that that's having them? 405, is that?
That's the empty.
That's
lot.
empty lot for the library. It's market,
Library.
it's a
Oh,
market.
this is a market event,
This is
okay.
a market event. She was-
Perfect, for June 7th, okay. Establishing and implementing program, okay, we waived, or we tabled those, pulled and tabled 40 and 41, so we're 39, 38, 37. The expenditures, the minutes, and tonight's agenda for the consent agenda, and I'd take a motion to approve those. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And any abstentions, same sign. All right. We are at the citizens forum at this moment, so any citizens that are here to speak, if you could just please stand and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Alan Subi, and, will you pass these back? Sure. Can you put this, I hate to tell you this, Tyler, but that's driving me nuts.
Taylor.
Can you put stuff on there, the people, can you put this on there?
I cannot, unfortunately.
Sure.
Everybody have, pass it out to the people. Okay. Okay, well, I'm kind of like Ted coming up here and saying my water. So, but anyway, I was listening to public radio and they came up with the eagle thing and I thought that sort of fits me. And so today I'm gonna talk about the eagle. The eagle sits right up there on top of the flag, okay? Now, the eagle is a strong bird and often associated with government because of its strength. Other words describe the eagle include words like freedom, spirit, and majestic. Okay, now, the dark side of the eagle. The eagle usually lives by water and enjoys consuming fish. However, it does not wish to work on obtaining fish. Rather, it waits for a weaker, vulnerable bird who has caught the fish and then takes the fish from the vulnerable bird. That's terrible. That eagle up there, he's too lazy. He doesn't want to go down into the lake and get the bird, get the fish. But he finds another bird that's already caught the fish. And he goes over and takes the fish away from the bird. Huh. So, where am I going with this? Susan, where am I going with this?
I know where you're going with it, Alan.
Okay, so I don't have to explain it. Okay, the eagle is compared with the city of Slater government. The fish could be compared with the revenue that feeds the government. The weaker bird is the owners of fourplex and mobile home parks. Okay, the city of Slater, the eagle, collects water, sewer, revenue fish from landlords rather than doing the work and collecting the water and wastewater revenue from the tenants. The city exempts itself from established accounts with each tenant.
You have one more minute, Alan.
Okay,
Yeah.
billing each tenant and chasing down those tenants who are late paying the water bill rather than city seeks out the vulnerable. Okay, so the last part, during the next several months, the plan is to expose the eagle. So that it will reconsider taking fish revenue from weaker birds, property owners, and restore the fairness that is lacking in the Slater city government. What that means, I can't help it, but the next 4 or 5 months, I'm going to expose the eagle. It ain't gonna be pretty. But the things that's happened, it's just wrong. What they did to people with fourplex and what they did to the mobile home park is not right. And so you'll hear from me every month, so. Any comments?
No, I think I would say you sat when this was an agenda item before this council for discussion. You presented a case as to why you thought that our process was inaccurate or unfair, in your words.
Right.
The council elected to not take action and adjust our current processes in alignment with many other cities' processes.
Can I stop you there?
Nope, you
Okay.
can't. And so I feel, Alan, I have given as equal and fair opportunity for you to present a case and for this elected council by the residents of Slater to change that. And that was not the direction the council elected to take. And so I think per our code, technically the way it's written, we could say that this has been discussed and you're not to repeat the topics repetitively like this. I think we've for years allowed this same topic to be discussed. And I'm afraid this council was not compelled to adjust our policy the way that it is.
Can I respond to that?
You can certainly respond to that.
Okay, the problem is, there's so many favoritism going on with the council. He's got favors. He's got favors.
Alan, please don't go to the path. of
I think the
attack.
personal thing is interesting because I think the claim of people getting favors or favoritism, I think I would tell you that Jennifer, Mark, myself, and every other councilman at this desk does our very best to apply everything equally, but not every situation is the same. And so we lean on the code, we lean on attorneys, and we lean on that direction and we follow that guidance. Experts, engineers, we lean on that expertise to make the decisions that we make. And they're not always going to appease everybody, and we know that.
He made a decision for him. He made a decision for him. He's employed making decisions about council members.
I don't
And
know
they
what,
favor them.
I
It's
can't
not
say,
right.
Alan, I've given the 3 minutes. I can't say exactly what you're doing, but I will say, if the approach is to be accusatory and say that there's to allege some sort of corruption among the members here, then I'm not going to allow the conversation to continue.
Let me ask,
I'm trying to give you a platform and be respectful of your time.
and due respect, then how should I present it next time? When I've got issues with way the.
Your presentation was fine tonight, but
Okay,
I'm
can
not
I-
sure.
Can I do it next time?
If you would like to use 3 minutes, Alan, I'm not gonna cut that off because I
Okay.
believe it's your right.
Okay.
But you have sat here in front of this council with the ability to change our policy, and it was voted unanimously no.
Well, because you're part of the problem. How can?
Then Alan, what I would recommend is I would recommend maybe working through some of the people you know in the community to work on voting this council out and this mayor out if you feel we're not the right people and that we're doing something wrong.
I don't want to get rid of.
There will be an election in November, and I believe 3 council seats will be up. that is how change can occur here. Unless you have some other compelling finding that changes some of these council members' direction, they have told you that they're in alignment with the policy.
Well. See, how can I phrase this in a way that I don't, you know, there's some things happen on this council that shows favoritism to certain people. And the council in general are not in favor of it because number one, they don't own fourplex. They don't own the mobile home park, and they've got special deals already for the council.
What
So
do you
why
mean
would they-
special deals? Alan, I was,
Let me tell you next time, okay? And let's talk about
Every year, every meeting. And this is,
next time we'll talk about special
I
deals.
don't care if you keep this as an eagle this time and a weasel next time. If we're gonna revisit this every time, I won't be here.
Well, my water bill, Ken.
We're not, no, this is not a discourse. This is
You're gonna-
comment, this is comment amongst the council.
Alan,
You don't get to interrupt anytime you feel like it
Don't
during this
interrupt,
council.
please, don't interrupt.
all right,
I'm not
all right,
interrupting, I have
hey,
the floor.
all right. We've been very
If we're gonna
courteous.
discuss this every time and give him 3 minutes every
We've been
time,
very courteous.
it's the same topic. That's what our
I
ordinance
understand,
addresses.
I understand, Ken, but I also believe that he legally has his right to his 3 minutes, and I think we can cut that off, and you're right, I don't have to go back and forth. I'm trying to be courteous and respectful to a taxpaying, not, you know, someone that is a
15 years
taxpayer in the
hasn't paid
community.
off.
I understand, Ken, but I get to choose and I'm gonna give him his 3 minutes. I will not extend it. And I understand. I've tried really hard to help you, Alan, and it's just not, we're not changing the rule at this
My
time.
water bill didn't change.
I know, we're not changing at this time. Is there any other citizens that would like to speak? All right. We will move to the presentations, the sheriff's report. I did have that here in front of me. And we'll just tell you briefly, quickly, to keep this moving, that we had a total of monthly town hours of 59.3. That included 34 patrol hours, 25 service hours. Any concerns for the sheriff? I talked to them this week because I called in a erratic driver. And he asked if we needed anything or if there's anything, so if anybody has anything. All right. Jen Gogarty, our librarian. Kyra, I think you're gonna talk for a minute in the library section.
Right, so a few things that have been happening at the library lately. Just in February alone, we had over 1,500 people come in the library. We did 39 programs and had 533 people attending those programs. So even in the dead of winter, we're keeping very busy. Those hotspots and tablets that we got a grant from the Story County Foundation for the entire county, those are now being implemented. The hotspots are available for a checkout for 2 weeks at a time. So that is an unlimited data source for people if you're traveling or if you're working at home. They have, we have those for 2 weeks, and they're, like when we had the power outage, we were able to use them to keep the library working, which was really nice. So the hotspots are available now. The tablets I just got last week, and so I'm working on processing those. They should be ready hopefully by the end of this week so that people can use them on spring break. So, we also just finished up our young entrepreneur group class. It was an 8-week class that about 12 kids completed. And they had their craft show on Saturday. And so they had some really cool things that they were making available, and a lot of people came and helped support them. Summer reading we're planning right now. I sent out our sponsor letters last week, and so I'm already getting calls for people to sponsor some of those programs. I've got 2 of those today. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention, you mentioned the Amazon in the billing part of that. Watch that to go up because I'm ordering more from them and less from Baker and Taylor. We've been having some issues with Baker and Taylor, lots of items being back ordered. We're actually getting better discounts from Amazon than we are from Baker and Taylor. So it's a little bit more of a process for me to do that, but just for the sheer sake of getting items in quicker that people have demand for and saving money, I will be ordering more from Amazon. So you will see those going up. So you do have those separated out in the bill reports that I give you every month, if that's helpful for you to be able to see how much of that is library versus other things in the city, but just to give you that up on that.
Thank you.
I haven't been up here talking to you all for a while, about, library, city hall, community center. But just wanted to give you, a couple of updates, and everything I'm gonna say is on this form, or this thing that's passing over right now, but, we have been pursuing some information about, building maybe a different type of building and seeing what cost per square foot might be if we did that, so, so I have collected some information there. I also have, we've gotten some interest from a couple of people in town about pursuing ideas to restructure that community center space into more targeted functions. And by that in specific, I mean 60 Forward, which is a place in Ames, relatively new. It's kind of where the old Target used to be, just to the east of that. And they provide all sorts of programming, workouts, classes, some equipment for folks in the 60 and over age bracket. So we're gonna go check that out next week and take a look at it and see, can we tweak our design so that we could be inclusive of a program like that? Can we get partners from that? We don't really know what we're investigating at the moment. But we'll find out more, and let you know. We also most primarily need to request a meeting from you all where community club, council, friends of the library, library board, building committee, get together, as we did a couple of years ago, when we didn't pass the bond, to sort of figure out what are we doing next. We kind of let things lie since the bond vote in November. And so we really need a clear path forward on what we intend to do. The list of questions that's underneath number 2 there are just some of the things that we need to talk about. But if we can get a date on the calendar in March, we have some potential. We have interest from some donors who would like to know the status of the project. And so we want to be responsive to that and get them the most updated information, but we don't really know what that information is right now. So if we can get a date from you, that would be lovely if we can do that. And then specifically under item 2 there in the requests, there are some things that we discussed when Marquita has been here about how we can finance using a revenue bond and then using existing revenue streams, funding streams coming into the city like lost, for example. And I don't know enough about this to know exactly what all that entails, but I do know that we need to have that site be an urban renewal area if we're gonna stick with that site. And I'm interested in what the appetite of the council is for pursuing that revenue stream coming from the city. So that's a question on the table. It's a question along with a lot of other questions, like, do we change this project entirely? Do we downsize it? Do we find a different location? Do we just stop? There are lots of options, but we need that definitive answer and guidance from you on where you want to head with that. And to that end, then to what extent would you like the building committee to come to you at a meeting with the proposal as opposed to generating that path forward at that meeting? So those are the questions at hand. The only thing I really would like you to do is just, can we find a date? that we can do that.
Is the 28th a drop dead date because they already have a scheduled meeting for the 31st?
No, it's not, it could be.
Okay,
It could be the 31st, but
Okay.
we were kind of hoping for a meeting where there was no other agenda. Like we did when, was that 2 years ago?
And I
We
think
met
it
at the
could be that,
library.
right?
and
I think there could be that.
We don't have it earmarked for anything, right? Maybe
The-
just a budget
The
item.
31st is a public hearing for our max tax, and that has to have its own agenda, and then we have to take a break for at least 15 minutes and before we can start another meeting. There is one thing on the second meeting. Second meeting is to set a public hearing for our full agenda. So if you don't mind that one item,
That's,
then the rest of it could be committed to
Yeah.
library
if
discussion.
that's okay with you, that would be excellent.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
All right,
Then give me a little.
then we'll plan
guidance
on March
how much-
31st.
What's that?
We'll plan on March
March
31st then,
31st, sounds good. And then we'll-
probably like say 6:20 or
Yeah.
6:30
Okay,
after our hearing.
and how much do you want us to come prepared to present to you versus how much would you rather just talk? There are a lot of options, as I just said.
How much would you say you have
Third
prepared?
right now that you could present.
I have nebulous ideas that need to be far more fleshed.
Yeah, one of the first things I guess I would be intrigued to understand is the donations. What your feedback has been from donors, what their thoughts are, obviously, as the people who have committed the cash thus far. And then, yeah, I would be curious to hear more about the research you've done on the other items, and then I think it's open for the discussion and conversation. And hopefully, I guess the objective I have in mind is, I think similar to yours, is you'd walk out of there with a lot clearer path as to what the city council's feels they would commit to as direction or land or project or that maybe. I mean, maybe it's really the filtering down to what you need to know. Hopefully we can empower you with to walk out with.
And we just need to figure out, we can't raise enough money to build it with
Right.
fake sales. So we gotta figure out what the city's willingness and ability to provide some of the financing. We'll do all the legwork, I mean, the grants.
Yeah.
We can find every single one that we can, but we have to have that bridge in between in order to move forward pretty much anything. Right.
And then I think, I don't know if when the last time council saw it or it was presented, but before the last bond, there was some firmer pricing on what
Yes,
it would be good if you could bring that.
Yep.
And then anything else you've investigated.
Yep.
Indication on, as you talk about downsizing or adjusting project, any financial related items that could help with that
it gets a little bit hard
comparison.
to sort of constantly be, what if we did this, or what if we did that, what if we moved it here, what if we made only a library, what if you made it 1 story and said 2 story? And at a certain point, the what ifs are too dizzying for me to make any kind of sense out of it, so we need your help for that, so.
Fair request, and we appreciate your work. We know you spend a lot of time off your job time to make this happen, and we do appreciate it. And hopefully we can give you guidance that's gives some direction.
A question, it's a bit of a chicken or the egg. You might be aware of the fact that I'm a numbers guy.
I'm aware of that.
How many scenarios are you gonna start putting together to put a price tag with? What's realistic? If we don't give you any guidance, are you gonna have a price tag for every scenario or
What
what's
I could
realistic?
do is come with a scenario for our existing site. I cannot come with a scenario for imaginary projects.
Okay.
I can't do that because I don't know what
I think
those
you're
will be.
I think you're gonna ask us for direction and we're gonna, at least I'm speaking for me, I would say, all right, that option, what's it cost? And
Yeah,
that's where I'm.
Stick with the site, I would say, and give us options. Give us
Yeah.
options.
I can detail that.
Yep, that'd be awesome.
and we can discuss it, but I'll just tell you right now, I say the opposite. So just, I say design different site. 1 story is what I would like to know, as you know, from discussions.
I know that, and I've had some conversations with other builders as is at the top, I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I just, when you said you couldn't bring any other financial except for what the building was, I just wanted to make sure, like, for me, I think that will be a very important factor in my mind, is understanding alternative construction style.
Types of buildings.
Okay, perfect.
Um, So,
Perfect.
Yeah.
Just bring what you have and we'll go from there. I mean, it might not be perfect, but we're in a chart where or an uncharted.
Yep.
Journey right
That's all
now,
I
so
got.
we'll try to figure it out, and work together.
30%.
They may or may not be able to be here on the 31st.
I will not be around. Guided fishing trip.
What if the guide's sick?
Plus the creek dredges.
Won't be. I'm gonna wake up at 6 a.m. New Year's morning. to get-
So do you want,
No, I'm okay.
do you wanna,
Would be an issue because we have to have a super majority for the max tax levy. Which
Can we-
means four. at least
are we
four people have to be in
pigeonholed
attendance.
into the 31st, or could we go the
Yes.
24th? There's not enough
It's already
time to
been
adjust it.
Published.
So can either of these guys attend by Zoom and we'd be okay?
Yes,
I might be able to get out of this, but at this point it's on my calendar.
Can we do it by Zoom at another time of day? No.
it's already been sent to the state and the county has the information that they're gonna mail to everybody. Cause that happened on March
No,
5th.
the other part.
Tax part.
Have four of us here?
Well, I would just say in that sense, we would be talking 5 minutes right at 6 o'clock and we
Yeah.
could clear that unless there was a room full of people. Hopefully, we could swing that.
I can probably.
I
I'll
would,
check on it, but-
I don't see a lot of value, I don't see a ton of value in this big strategic meeting about this if 2 of 5 are gone.
That doesn't matter.
So I would want if we can, have everyone attend the library type meeting, so. Do you want to
No,
meet
I-
on the
I'm okay
24th
with
for?
watching, but, I mean, I don't think there's gonna be a lot of action items that need to be decisions made that day, but
On,
the library.
No, it's just
That
discussion.
would be the majority of the meeting and the volume of the meeting. I'd be happy to look at that afterwards on the.
I'm hearing that they wanna know how to proceed.
Yeah.
And so I just,
So there's not gonna be any actionable, there's gonna be a suggestion, but there's an action. Stuff by the council, we can't do it. Without these two.
well, we can, cause we'd have a regular majority, or we'd have quorum and we could vote
Yeah.
it, so I'm just wanting to make sure, like, if this meeting comes out and says, hey, scrap the project, and you're not here and you didn't get to say your part. You know what I'm saying, and that's not where we're gonna go, I don't imagine, unless something crazy's
No, that's
changed.
what I mean. I don't see
But-
it being something that's.
If you wanted impact on what we're talking about,
Do you mind if Tyler calls you two guys between now and the 31st, just get your flavor?
Absolutely.
I can meet at the library.
Okay, if you don't mind doing that, at least that we get input.
Great idea.
Brant,
Things, we did add 2, new people to our firefighter crew, Rowdy Cravey. Lives on Trail, and Aaron McNew is over on 4th Street, so we voted them in last meeting. So they did that, knocks us down to just one open position, Stuart Horse went to our reserves. So, if anybody in town wants to join fire department, have them fill out an application. We haven't really put anything out publicly yet this time. And another thing, we got our side by side ride next month. It's our 3rd one that we've had, so April 26th, I think. Other than that, then. Simple.
Do we have to approve them as? As a formal action? Don't we approve them as
the what?
firemen or city?
We've never done it.
Or is it different because they're not full-time?
Ideally.
Hmm?
Ideally, at some point, we would approve.
I think we've approved
Need
a
a-
roster historically.
a full roster
I think there's been, the only time I've been here was we approved a roster at one point.
Of all,
Yeah, just
of all
for us at the
boards.
beginning of the year that's got-
I mean,
We've never done it, so.
I think it's been once a year or typically once a year.
Yeah.
with a one of us too.
Well, and I think it would make sense to line in after, just like the rest of our code says, after whatever a general election, you approve all those other positions. It would kind of be logical to do that at that same timing.
Whatever.
I don't know. Cause you have officers and those folks that approve them, so. Then they have to train. Jen?
EMS, 17 calls for the month. Really a great month for making calls. 10 out of the 17 we made, so we missed 7. So somewhere around that 46% or so that in there, something like that. But, sorry, 59% what we made. 41% that's really. So, not sure why we have so many missed calls. Besides, people are busy and trying to make their lives balanced, but, kind of frustrating trying to motivate people to go on calls and you can't be a 1 or 2 person job responding to calls, so. We'll continue that process and talk to the crew at our meeting on Thursday and see what we can try to figure out what's going on and, figure out if it's just a fluke or anomaly or what's going on. That takes us for 34 calls for the year, 26 made, 8 missed, and 7 on one last month. That is a 76% ratio for hitting there. Got 2 applications out for EMS providers. They should be coming in soon. Those 2 people would take us for our maximum authorized number for EMS, which I've never seen 7 around, so that's awesome. That number is really only set based on the necessary equipment that we have to purchase to equip a responder. So if we start getting more people out that want to do, after that, we'll have to be creative with what we've got or figure out if we need to purchase more equipment. At our last meeting, we did have our elections again. There were no changes in our officers. So,
Congratulations, Chad.
yeah.
Nobody came for you.
All right. I was willing to give it up. Nobody wanted it. Nothing new on the fire EMS building. Mark and I need to sit down and get another committee meeting going. For public outreach stuff, we started talking about sponsoring a local blood drive since Absolute is not organizing them anymore in town. And so we've reached out to Life Serve and they would love to get back into the community. So we're working on trying to find the time and place and all that stuff to coordinate it. Since we really don't have a place to bring people to, we can take it down to the gravel lot in front of the IHOP, but that'd be the most opportune place. We thought here at City Hall. Their only requirement is that they have a bathroom and water available. Which, if we have somebody stationed here to keep it open past normal business hours, then we can walk in the room since we have a key for here since we meet in our regular meetings. So we're thinking about maybe kicking it off on the EMS week in May would be our first event. That'd be a good thing to spearhead that one there. And then it'd probably be like they have one over in Huxley, but they only do it every 6 months. And then we've asked, well, can we go opposite of them? So we're only doing it so that we're not forming the same group. And they thought that would work, but they also kind of wanted to get into the neighborhood more than just every 6 months type of thing. So we'll still try to work out the logistics of that type of stuff. Other things that we've done, we went around with, we did some stop the bleed training with fire. The library and city staff this last month. There's a big push on stop the bleed through EMA. And it's getting pushed down through the EMS agencies, obviously. But they've got a pretty good grant that they've got going that they're putting stop the bleed kits in all the school buses, city halls and libraries. And but for that to happen, they all have to have somebody on the grounds that's trained. So hopefully we're picking off enough people that we're gonna get qualified and get to stop the bleed kits and go from there. The next round on the stop the bleed stuff that they do after we get that done. They're gonna try to do it also for places of worship in the communities. Basically places where you have some mass gatherings and stuff.
just with getting all the schools and city halls and libraries done, when that happens, we'll be the only county in the state that will have all those areas covered and stop the leaks. That's a feather for EMA's hat. So. And that's about it. Does the council have any recommendations or thoughts on any outreach type of items that you'd like to see from your EMS crew? You can think of.
I forget when you guys, it's an annual thing, right? When you do at the park. You guys had been there before and they've had the ambulance, the Mary Greeley ambulance, and I think fires there.
Our last thing we did was our 30 whatever years of service.
Okay.
Last round, which we did a shindig at the park.
Yep. Okay,
We don't do a whole lot of normal things, regular occurring things, let's call them that. We used to do like Valentine's dinner. Then we're still just trying to find the right niche for the community to be out and see and do those things. So, that fundraisers and those type of things. The public outreach isn't necessarily stuff that we want to do for making money. It's providing a service additional for the community, you know. I've got trainers that can do CPR and AED. I've got the stop and bleed people. We're looking at possibly even doing some of the geriatric home assessments for falls, since I think it's around 23% of our calls have to do with fall related type of events. So just some of those things. Some people don't want to give up their throw rugs, but those are also big trip hazards and stuff for the houses and stuff like that. They actually have some classes that we can actually go and get certified of what to look for need assessment and geriatric homes and stuff like that.
We've done a CPR class recently, and that would be something
We haven't done
or
one.
just a
We do them on demand, but
either CPR or refresher for those that have had it, but
Elkhart did it a month or two ago, their community club or whatever, they sponsored community wide, you know, you had to sign up for it, and then they paid for the course. I think it was a neat idea.
So the way with our trainers, they just have you go, if you want a certification, is that you would go online, do the online class, and then you got with the trainer, do your skills, and then you do the certification. If you just want to practice the skills and know that you can push on the chest and you do it, say, hey, I did it. Anybody can do that one. You know, if you want a certification, it's one more step, but yeah. We could do some.
I think it's just one of those options. The other thing, he usually gives a breakdown of the calls that were in town and.
Oh, I'm sorry. Got sidetracked on the numbers. 11 in Slater, 6 of them were made, 5 were missed. Shello had 2 calls, 2 missed. Palestine Township, 3 calls. All 3 were made. 1 call was made in Kelly, each of it. Sorry. Got sidetracked on not making calls.
Chad, did you firm up your plans and make sure Danielle, your cutoff is the 17th of the scoop? So if there's stuff you want publicized. Get it in that. You're gonna put the work into doing it, might as well make sure people know about it.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, thank you.
thanks, Chad. Mark,
No. Just so everybody knows, Zach got his grade 2 in sewer, DNR certificate. Corey and I will be doing CPO class the next 2 days. So I'll be gone. Speed feedback signs. They're both working now, so I'll throw something together next week and send it out to you. So yeah, I got a thumbs up on them now. If you haven't seen the thumbs up, you're going too fast. We're working on, hopefully the next week, to get the other 2 diffusers on our settling pond. So we'll have 6 diffusers on there. So we should hopefully be ramped up for when the weather turns hot and muggy, and I think we'll be in good shape. We're looking at a calendar today, and I think I'll get it. I don't think I'll have a problem getting it to Danielle, but about the cleanup day. Talking maybe putting it all together with cleanup plus limb day. Maybe I think it was the 14th, maybe of June. So the second Saturday. It's either that or the next Saturday after that, so we don't know for sure, but something me and my guys need to look at our calendars and make sure we're all here. So that's kind of what we're waiting on for that.
Cool.
So, and then I'll get all the garbage guys and kind of see what that's gonna entail to do.
The dumpsters, yeah.
Yeah,
It's the PO class.
sort of pool.
Oh,
On behalf of 10th Street, thanks for coming.
But,
You be on 10th Street.
for sure.
I'm going back to a year ago. One of your guys got certified for something, and did it come with a wage adjustment?
Mhm.
They know what to do, yeah.
Right, that's what I thought. Just want to make sure that
Yep.
they do the work to get it.
Yep.
We'll work for it. Sports park construction season's coming. Do we have a plan for any forward progress out there, or are you waiting for guidance, or where do we
Nope.
stand?
He's not done yet. Asa,
Okay,
so he's got, I think, about 15 to 20% left, somewhere there.
okay,
I met with him last week. And now we're meeting again Thursday, because we're gonna revisit some tile work that he hit and
Okay.
maybe revamp, maybe make a ditch instead of. Get rid of some tile and maybe we can make a ditch instead,
Surface
which would be
drainage. Yeah.
possibly better, so.
Alright.
So yeah, we're,
well, I know there's money in the budget, so I didn't know if you
Yep.
plan on doing anything beyond just grassing it, or just grassing it for this year till we come up with a better plan.
no, I'll be in touch.
Okay.
And see what direction you wanna go.
Alright, good.
So, I mean, we'll see what the budget bring, if everything got in
Yep.
there, then it'd be sewer and water,
Okay,
getting that stuff done like we had discussed, so,
alright.
yep,
We just got hit with that one astronomical number, and never really had us.
right,
plan.
Yep.
This is what we're actually gonna do.
yep. So no, I'll be in touch when we get
Okay.
a
Good, just,
little closer.
I know the Parks and Rec just talked about trying to help with fundraising, and
Yeah, I talked to
Donations in
Jan
kind and
today
all
about
kinds
it
of
a little
stuff,
bit, yep,
we're getting to that phase, and we might as well start
for sure,
getting the wells we can hit.
yep. Yep.
Thanks, Mark.
Mhm.
Oh, one last. Alleys.
Yes.
Who owns our alleys? Cause I
We-
noticed that we've been dragging mud around.
We haven't been dragging mud. but
Sorry,
Certain
somebody's been dragging mud. around.
alleys that
Out
have
in
never
the
been
streets.
used have been used
Okay,
this year, so, yeah.
but maybe
have-
it's ours. I have no idea how that works.
Yeah.
Okay,
But they're gonna have to wait until they obviously stiffen up, but.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
dumping rock now is a sure
Yeah.
recipe to push it off.
Yep,
So is that something that this summer we do some grading and
Yep.
some new rock and get it hammered in before
Yep.
next winter?
yep,
Okay, all right. I just noticed the mud on the streets and it's like, oh, that's gonna,
yeah, there've been two of them this winter that have never been a problem
okay,
until
all
this year.
right.
Two that I know of, maybe there's more, but I can think of two.
You're on your way home, so I'm sure you
So,
saw.
one there and one here.
Okay,
Yeah.
Start grabbing all of them.
Do it.
All right, Jen.
I'm still investigating some software for our accounting program. I kind of got an idea of which one we should go with, but I still want to go and make appointments to go actually see them function at a couple different cities, so I'll be setting those up soon. That's about it for right now.
Pool.
Oh.
Pool employee.
We have a couple applications. Getting together with probably some Park and Rec volunteers to set up some interviews
Okay.
For manager,
for manager,
Good.
yeah.
are we advertising?
Mhm,
We did.
mhm.
Not just for the manager, but for staff in general? Are we?
We haven't advertised for general staff yet,
Okay.
just manager at this point.
So I think last year you said it was a little up and down, so I don't know if we need to get that earlier and wider or what we need to do. So, just thinking ahead, who's coming.
It really depends on the manager.
Okay.
You'll be surprised how many people will apply or not apply, depending on who the manager is.
Okay. In light of June's coming, I think I heard you guys say a couple of years back, you guys did a wage comparison study. If we're gonna do something in advance of June salary adjustments. Do we need to get started on that? Cause I think last year we just did it seat of our pants. Is that something you guys do regularly or? How was that done?
A wage analysis?
Yeah.
You can pull some stuff from Iowa League of Cities. They do an annual wage
Okay.
salary.
I looked at that and it was. It seems like there's a lot of apples and oranges reporting.
It is. It's kind of yeah, it's very much inconsistent. but-
So when you guys referred to that from a couple of years back, that was just League of Cities?
I think there was some more calling done.
Yeah, well, I did some direct calling to populations
Okay,
of cities of our population.
okay. So it's not a rate study like we did for water sewer, it's more informal.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I misunderstood.
No consultants were hired.
Okay. I think we got something in here for a rate study later. I'm be at the Shellwell meeting and they use Steve Marsh at the Municipal Utilities Association. And apparently he does it for free. Is this,
Does what?
does water sewer rate studies for free? It's apparently part of some association. Does ring any bells to you?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I'll forward that to you. But maybe something to consider as we go forward.
Yeah, what did they say
Free.
the association was again? I forget, municipal utility. Yeah, it was at
Iowa
the Sheldon
Municipal
meeting.
Utilities Association, something. I have it written down, I just didn't.
Yeah.
Right in here, but there's a guy by the name of Steve Marsh. So I wanted to double check.
It's worth a check for
So
sure.
I'll forward to you, Jen, so we can check before we sign up for a 4K one. Were you gonna bring up this violent events thing?
The insurance agent is gonna review it at our annual. We can, yeah,
Okay. so
Have more
table it now,
information
'cause
then.
it
Yeah,
didn't
so
a
we'll have
price.
more- no, it doesn't. He was gonna give us a price at our annual meet, for anywhere from $100,000 coverage to a couple $1 million coverage. So
Okay.
he'll give us some price rates before, because our insurance will actually renew, April 1st.
Okay,
So
so I think the email.
we'll
just
be
said
meeting with him.
Economical, but I don't know what that
Next
means
week or
to
two.
people. Okay, Danielle sent an email to the group about the cleanup and the scoop and food trucks. Is there any actions associated with that? She asked us for her opinion, but I didn't respond back because I don't know how to interpret the council rules discussion.
Yeah, I think I was gonna mention this too.
That
I
could be
would,
yours, like a good.
I was just gonna, yep.
Okay. I don't remember, I think it was Mark Jackson brought up Syngenta and TIF. Have we done anything with TIF for Syngenta?
No, because they use the 429 law rule. Where they actually get, they only pay for after they've made some improvements, they actually only pay 20% of their valuation the first year. And then for 5 years, it progressively goes up to 100%.
Yeah, I remember seeing the abatement thing, the tax
Yep.
abatement.
So, yeah, so if you do that, you can't do TIF as well. You have to do one or the other. Because of
Okay.
yeah.
So we don't get the property tax income for a while.
It progressively gets bigger over the course of 5 years,
Right.
20%. I think it's 40%,
Okay.
60%, 80%.
So there's no recovery of that. Yeah, I think it was a 5-year.
Mhm.
Okay,
That program too, through counties.
Through the
How's that
state.
administered? Directly through the state.
It's a state rule, but yeah, it's administered directly through the county itself, so Boone County administers that.
So the state approves the lowering of our taxes. For that without any say so by us
Oh, yeah, you guys approved it a few years ago,
with the.
because Syngenta's already used it once.
Yeah, I remember seeing Tina's packet, that's the only reason I knew about.
Yeah.
the phasing.
The phasing, yeah.
Then circling back to bank cash. The fact we show a negative 4 million balance in checking.
It's just the way our system is,
Right.
with all of it moved to the money market, just like when it was an iPay and it showed a negative balance in general funds.
Yeah, I was hoping.
It makes up for it then in the cash. In the cash report, when you see it under money market account,
Yeah, the grand totals, it's.
Yeah.
corrected to
yeah,
6 million.
Mhm.
Okay. Um. And then moving to the, revenue and expense, I have a couple of questions in there. The inspection, building inspections, the $20,000 on that one, that's because we haven't got. And Jenny, you said?
You're looking at the
On page
report,
2 of the revenue and expense report,
okay,
about a third of the way down the sheet, there's building inspection revenue and fees. So we're out 86,000, we're in 56,000, for 20,000 for it. But I'm trying to remember, I thought you said something about some Janet hadn't paid it
the
yet.
school has one that's,
The school is an old one, right?
yeah, that's,
So I assume that would go backwards. You register generators on the old one. But right now, it looks like we're 20,000. The negative on. This year.
you're on, do I have the page right there, Craig? You're on page
Page
2, you
2.
said revenue and expense report,
Yeah,
building inspection revenue, building inspection fees.
yeah. And our year to date is,
there's some adjustment coming from a couple of permits that, they adjusted for customers
I don't see anything.
to the tune of about
our year is
$4,500.
the 26 one, Taylor.
725.
Yeah,
But is
Yeah, you're on the same as me.
26 or 25? 'Cause we got one
Fiscal
of-
26.
Yeah, you want 25. I'm in current year, not future year. All right,
Is that further down on the report?
no, it's a different attachment.
it's totally.
Oh, really?
It was at the beginning, right behind, it should be behind
Claims?
claims and,
Yeah, just with current business.
Not West South Story. IP.
I thought it was a different attachment.
Gotta look. So ultimately, you're just asking because it should be
Yeah.
in and out.
Yeah, but it should be a net wash, basically. 20,000 off on that one. Find it.
invoices that have to be sent out for them.
Yeah. Then I'm jumping to page 3, down towards the bottom. Miscellaneous income. 285 grand.
That's grants that we haven't gotten yet.
Okay. All right, just making sure that's a phasing thing. Page 5. Kelly. There's 2 entries, fees for services. For Kelly that has basically nothing in it. And there's a charges for services, which I assume is what Kelly must be under.
Yeah, the second one is what it's under.
So. My calculations are around 62%. Which would be around pushing 20 grand, so they got one more payment to make on that. We get that closed up.
Yeah.
Okay. Be good to get the books closed on that one.
But that'll be prorated, remember? It won't be the full amount that was budgeted.
Yeah, it's another 4 or 5 grand.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Tort liability, we don't get paid much. We got a budget of 130,000, we have $60 so far.
Where you at?
Page 7. That's towards the top of the page. 130,000 budget number.
Yeah, we only get billed once. That's our
That's just
our
once a year?
property insurance
Okay,
that we'll bill in April.
all right, and then interest, we didn't budget nearly enough. Do we have to make a budget? Or is that only for the other direction?
Only if you're the other
So if we're in
direction.
the hole, not if we make too much.
I mean, yes, you could make a budget amendment
I
to
just know
it,
you said that legally we have to make them for one direction only, but if we're making more than we say, then we're fine. It's if we're
Yeah.
under, then we gotta adjust. Okay,
for sure.
all right. Taxes TIF. We didn't, but. We got 82,000 against it with no budget.
Are you on the same page 7?
No, sorry, now on page. 8,
Okay.
about 2/3 of the way down. Property taxes TIF, 82 grand at actual, no budget.
It's tip 163.
No, about 6 lines. You can see the 82 grand,
Yep.
that one. So apparently we didn't budget anything for that one. We got income.
Mhm.
So again, since we're to the positive, we don't have to do a budget amendment for that.
Like before, we could.
But it's not a crisis. We don't.
No, because what really matters is our annual finance report after the year's over, to know
Okay.
what came in, what went out. Actuals, because that reflects our actuals.
All right, and you told me that our principal, we have to pay once a year on loans, whereas interest we pay twice a year.
Correct.
So that's the reason all the principals are. We have that.
Still outstanding, yep.
So are they behind up?
Yes.
You gotta be behind quite a bit on loan payments. What do we,
Sent invoices, and I've talked to both of them.
Yeah.
They said they'll be making payments here very soon.
Penalties or interest on those?
What's that?
Do we have penalties or annual interest on those?
We don't do interest, there's zero interest loans.
Well,
good to know.
Not wrapping up for whatever, Jen.
Our meetings align with school board meetings. I know there's the baseball conversation was happening with the school board being introduced to the school board tonight, so we'll learn some more post that conversation. We talked about the tree cleanup. I talked to Mark about that a little bit, maybe lumping that in or figuring out if we could get like if somebody come in and say, yeah, we'll offer a discount and these are the trees we've identified that need to go based on your code or based on that, if then maybe we couldn't offer the homeowners like a discount of some sort through I don't know, free program or something. He was gonna at least have a conversation.
Good.
I met on Friday. Was I over here with that guy? Friday?
Yep.
Yeah, Friday. There is a festival that's gonna take place in July, I believe, that's at the winery out here, the Cellar, called the Middle of Nowhere Festival. Community member introduced me to the guy who's created the event. It's the second year they've had the event. They're looking at, the Cellar out there has a parking issue when it comes to large events. So we're working on right now being, we all work with some local businesses. If we can fundraise and be kind of the sponsor among the businesses in Slater, then they would use Slater as a parking coordination with bus transfers in and out. For that. So the advantage obviously to the business owners is the parking would happen here in town and then they would do a bus transfer that we talked about picking up in front of City Hall here. So that people would come from wherever they're coming from, park on our main street. Have to interact with our businesses and then potentially, then they catch the bus out to the festival and back to be dropped off. So I'm working on something with them on that, just I thought it was they had talked to the school and we're gonna use the school parking lot. Which sounds really great and all that, but then they also wanted to help the businesses here, get the businesses to pitch in to help. And it's like, well, if everybody parks down there, they're just gonna stand there and get on the bus and leave and not stop here. So I asked if we could move it to here, so we'll get that date out. There's a video they put together about Slater and just, it'll be shared by me and then, I'll ask Danielle to throw it up on our Facebook. It's just an informational video they made. So kind of a cool event coming up.
For what's worth, assuming you're talking.
The cellar, yep,
River Snooze and cool down.
the cellar, yep.
They were really great for gather when the weather turned to crap. So they bailed them out of the jam, so.
Yeah.
It's great, we can do something with them.
Yeah, I think it's a good event. It
Great
sounds like a
owners.
really good
Really,
event.
really good owners out there.
And they're gonna have live music, they're gonna have art, it's an art show basically. Makers and that type of stuff that's become popular of all kinds of different things.
They might
Yeah,
look at,
they're busy.
you might give them an idea about, using some of those people movers. I don't know if Syngenta
Yeah.
has those or decal that they use.
It's a
for
great
farm
idea.
Progress, but it's. a lot
If they can
cheaper
get
than
away
riding
with
a
the
bus than
liability.
Just riding a mile down the road,
Yeah,
but,
yep. I thought about that same thing and then I started thinking liability from my insurance days and it's like,
their problem, not ours.
oh boy. In our cities, yeah. So, those are just a few things. I'm overdue to get our economic development committee back together to talk on 321 Main Street. And make sure that we have kind of a plan going into spring on that.
On that topic.
I did have one other person reach out with interest, but after seeing the building, they felt like it was too large for them. When they drove by and looked at it and checked it out, they're like, yeah, this is probably more than what we want to bite off.
Informally, can we change the close date? Until you get the economic development team together, because right now, if you open up our website, it says it's closed.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
sure
yeah.
we can edit that. We can figure out how to edit that internally.
And in long term, sure. we-
Yes.
In the short term, I'd hate to have people. open
It's
up
a
the
good
RFP
point.
And then say, oh,
Yep.
too late.
I think that's a totally
Yeah,
fair
or that
point.
You or Danielle, whoever changes that.
It might have been. I don't know if
A
we
little
have,
bit of both. So we'll figure out what the needs to be and get it changed.
And
Yeah.
Taylor, you know, let them know next time you meet with economic development, they can change the date to whatever that is.
yeah, I think what we'll do is just get a pulse for it, but I think really right now. And I'd be curious if anybody else has thoughts on it, but right now I think what the scenario is. We're obviously missing out on what the potential property tax could be for that. But we're also not prematurely unloading it. So I think maybe some adjusted verbiage and another re-push on it with a longer timeline, maybe as weather warms up and things get interesting and maybe some of the economic things in our country settle a little bit. Maybe there's different optimism. All right, I'll cut it off there. I don't think I have anything else crazy. We'll move into, did anybody, council members have any comments? Oh, sorry, Ken, I said I was gonna mention it. The food truck thing, does anybody have a desire to pursue some of that stuff that Danielle shared as far as permitting and requiring food trucks to go through a similar process to like a peddler has to go through in town? I mean, is there an interest of pursuing that or expanding research on
My
that?
question when you look at that is who or who's responsible for verifying that they are or not compliant with health inspection, food inspection. I mean, if we don't do that, are we the ones that are liable for not having checked that whoever's parked out here selling food has been
Above
checked?
board, yeah.
Yeah,
Shouldn't
that would be my
some sort
only.
of certificate or something from.
From the state of Iowa, I'm sure they have to have something, but I don't know.
They
who
do, and I
verifies
tell them
that.
they have to that has to be visible.
Yeah.
People should look for,
Other than
consumers need to be aware that, to look for those.
It's really a good question.
well, that's my other
Permits,
question.
state of Iowa
I have
permits.
no desire for us to get involved with.
To require them to register through city to
But
serve
I
here.
think somebody, hopefully,
I think
somebody's watching.
I like the idea of them registering because, I mean, they're now, we're trying to put a restaurant there, they're now competing with 100 food trucks. That the town gets nothing out of.
Yeah.
I mean, as a
Yeah.
business owner, as a restaurant owner, I would love to see them pay something to our little leagues. When they come in, they get the good, they leave. They don't deal with any of the bad, they're not brick and mortar. So my opinion is they should be charged something, but that's a whole nother step and a lot of work for, especially when they're over there 4 days a week, so. It's tough, but I mean, if you're trying to put another restaurant in town, they're gonna have a really hard time knowing they're competing against all of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think the other thing too that comes into it for my mind is just some feedback. It's felt like maybe there's been less, and maybe it's because of the winter, but it felt like there was less food trucks this winter than what last winter had, and I'm kind of starting to wonder if the demand or support of those food trucks has reduced their desire to come this way, if it's no longer isn't as profitable because it's not getting used as much.
It's
I'd be
a
curious to
third-hand
know that.
story, but I was told that Cindy wasn't even trying to get food trucks in the winter, it was just too much.
Okay.
suffering.
All
So I
right,
don't know if that was community or they just said it's not a huge driver.
yeah, okay.
So.
So
but that's not
you-
firsthand
you-
story.
I agree with
Sean?
Sean, but I think for as much legwork and paperwork and everything that it's gonna take to do that, I don't think you're gonna earn enough off of it to pay for that. You know, to make up for that, let alone make anything for anybody around the community.
Yeah.
Or if you're-
And secondly, I think it's one of those things, it's a problem we don't have at this point in terms of numbers. I mean, there's gonna be another one show up probably down at the park like they did
Yeah,
last
that-
fall.
Yeah,
Numbers wise, I don't see it as a problem at this point. I think we can always look to institute something if it becomes.
and I think that too, I just think it should be brought up and people should be aware of that.
Yeah.
I mean, if we've got potential buyers and looking to be at that place, that could be a
Yeah,
thing they're gonna look at and be like, well, I don't wanna compete with them down there. And
for
then
free, yeah,
a change every day.
understand.
Danielle, is that acceptable with what you kind of found surrounding communities doing? I know you kind of put some questions out there.
I don't know, it doesn't sound like a lot are doing much of anything. I think
Okay.
the one shared that they have a peddler's permit.
Okay.
Another city put together a chapter and proposed that to council and they denied it. So.
So
Okay.
keep it simple right now.
So we're in precedent.
Who's gonna police it?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly, I mean, that's
That's
what
the
we
issue.
do, yeah,
totally, yeah, okay,
and it's a lot more work.
So that's good to know.
Keep it simple, just a vendor, whatever you do now.
Nothing.
Oh, nothing, okay, other than improve.
yeah, and then lastly, I would just say, I was able to get a hold of another attorney, and I do have more information for another attorney. I didn't have it on this agenda, because we've only got the two, I know you were checking with one, do you think that there will be anything to come?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, all right.
this guy doesn't even,
Okay,
this guy answered his own phone the first time, so I was all excited about it, and then not even a return phone call since that period of time,
Okay.
so.
all right, I'm gonna pursue another one or two, and Jen, if you have anybody that you know is worth pursuing,
Yeah.
and then maybe at the
Ohio
next
League of
meeting.
Cities has a list or.
Yeah, they do, and those are the ones I've been calling through to try to get to. The hard part is, two of them are TIF attorneys, and we use one of them already, so if we wanna. I've kind of always been told or heard through other conversations in the city stuff that you kind of wanna keep those separate maybe from doing like your legal work and your TIF work. It's good to keep it separate, but. Cause they're doing your development agreements as well, so like the TIF attorney is maybe motivated to get the development agreement done, but they're also supposed to be representing. I don't know, I've just heard it's good to keep
It is, but
if there's a mess there.
just what little I looked at, there's very few of them.
There's not, yeah, I think
Even
there's like,
willing to do
I think there's
municipal
like
work, let alone one.
8 on the website. I think 2 of them are in that TIF category. One of them, we have Brick Gentry's and we, Whitfield and Eddie is who this one is. But I do think there's an attorney in Ames too, so. More to come on that. I will be, absent on April 14th. I have to travel for work, so. I will be gone that date, so.
We're gonna cover Danielle's cleanup and scoop,
Um,
so we'll get an answer to her.
specifically on the campaign here.
Yeah, she had an email that had.
Yeah. Yep, did anybody else look at that? She kind of checked off that March 25th. I actually, let's revisit that at the agenda item below. Go ahead, Ken.
I said one thing, but, I was down introduced to and got some information about solar. There's the bill that's down at the state this year doesn't really address the issue that we had with,
The metering thing.
yeah, the virtual net metering is our issue. So anything they're doing right now doesn't look like it's gonna solve that. That issue, I'm in contact with, and I may hand this off to Danielle, if that's all right, if everybody's okay with that, but there is a bill going through the State House now about, community solar. I'm not sure if that's what they need more space. We don't have the kind of space they're talking about unless, like, the water retention areas that'll be out in weeks and stuff, are those technically ours?
Not yet.
One
pond will be ours.
Which one?
The long narrow one.
Will not be.
Will be.
So, so what that is just like what, you see on 30 in Ames where they put up a whole bunch of solar arrays. The sponsoring, for lack of a better word, I don't have the right technology. This was a phone call in the car today, mostly a couple of emails, but, is that then, if we own it, we get 40% of that. It would only cover 40% of 40% of the amount of revenue that's generated from that one user can use. So if we go through the hassle of developing that, we can use 40% of what that solar is, and then we can sell the other 60%. Has to be sold to smaller users, so either small businesses or homeowners.
Residential.
Personally, I don't have much of a flavor for that because that's getting us deeper into the utility business, which I don't think is great, and especially when you're in a business like that, that's a lot of unknowns in it. The only way we would have space would be if we mounted those above a water retention area. Which wouldn't be that difficult, but it just ends in another level of difficulty to it.
Mhm.
Or they're talking about leasing land, like from
Yeah.
Sears or something, and putting them on that, but otherwise, I don't think this is gonna be a solution for it, but they'll do a proposal and stuff and send, similar to what the
Eagle Point did, yeah.
the residential solar did. For us.
And I think
Could
I
we
think
send them
they were pretty commercial as well. I know you said, I saw an email residential, but I think Eagle Point they had done many municipal projects, I think, but it doesn't matter, but I appreciate the other side.
And they just need some of the utility bills, like from what our water treatment would be. I mean, that's where our big bill's at.
So we would just need to have a resolution to approve the release of that, essentially, is what you're saying, right? That's what we did on Eagle Point, I think.
That's what Eagle Point wanted, but it's all public knowledge, so
Yeah.
if like,
So we could share
we
it.
can share it.
Okay,
I'll work with handing this off unless anybody has any objections or if there's a.
I'm fine with seeing what they propose. I mean, it's an education at least at a minimum.
Right, like I said, I personally, I don't think we want to be in the business of having to market 60% of what you do off of that. And lease acreage to do it on, because we don't have, it's not like we have land that's.
Agreed.
No.
Right.
Yeah, I felt like the committee was aligned that we didn't want to pursue the Eagle Point proposal as it came back at the time.
Right.
Because of the net metering, virtual net metering, so. But I think it's an interesting angle. Go ahead, Sue.
I had a couple things if
Yeah,
we're
please.
ready to move on. What's the situation with the sharks?
Yeah,
I have forwarded the contract after it was reviewed by the attorney. I forwarded it to them. They are supposed to be getting back to us with a couple of dates that they're
they'd like to
available
meet
to
and talk
meet.
through some things.
Yeah,
I have seen a list of questions from them and let them know we could talk about them. It's things like, what if we show up and there's not enough lifeguards for us to practice per your new policy? What if you have a staffing issue? Just things like that, that I think are kind of hard things. And I think it probably is gonna end up being kind of Park and Rec to answer some of those. I think that it would be good to have them represented on that. But there's a list of questions here that was around many of those things about just how, here it is. What's the plan if lifeguard isn't available for daily practice? How will we communicate that? Can one of our coaches be a certified lifeguard to step in if there was a vacancy from the city of Slater? Weather cancellations. Coaches get a key like previous years for setting up and tearing down. When's the yearly fee due? Who do we make the check to? Practice schedule. Some questions about that. They asked about some swim clinics, which I think we talked about at Park and Rec.
I think what I really was wondering is. We are.
The ball is in their court to provide dates and times that would work. They messaged that the dates and times are generally during the day. And Jen affirmed that council is typically supportive or flexible to support that as needed, as available from council. And that we would entertain that and help that, but I also think Park and Rec should be included as the drafter and kind of the owner of this.
You bet.
But yeah, I think there's some good questions, right? Like how do they get, if there's weather cancellation, do they get?
We hire their coaches as lifeguards.
Can we?
In theory, we could, right?
Pay them like a normal lifeguard.
For a certain period of time.
If they're
During that
actually going
course.
to sit in lifeguard, then they cannot coach while they
I got you.
lifeguard.
I got you. Yeah, they would actually have to.
They would have to not coach while they were lifeguarding.
But that might be a viable solution if they're listed for that. It's just the thing, would they have the staffing?
To coach
To put
and
one,
lifeguard.
even if we're just short one lifeguard, could they put one in a chair? And have enough coaches to do their coaching? It's a good discussion.
Emergency backup, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Versus we have to cancel practice for the day. But you're right, they should be.
Yeah, I think
They
that,
should be at least employed by us during that period.
yeah, certainly. So there was follow-up questions and we're waiting to hear them sometimes.
Sheldon and fee for O&M for next year.
We were. at
Where
the
do you want to
meeting.
go with that?
I just think we should have an update.
We were at their number. We were at their meeting, Craig and I. We had a great conversation. They're supportive of following the contract. We had done some math that we believed was in the contract and provided it to them that showed it was a 13% exchange. And so they have requested the flow numbers that back that up.
Mhm.
So there will be more to come on that.
So we are sharing the phone numbers with them.
We will be sharing the flow numbers with them. We'll get you an update as soon as we get those over to them and get the discussion with them.
Cool. The last thing I have, Danielle sent out a great synopsis of how other cities are doing with water bills and due dates. I didn't get a time to put all that together, but are people interested in looking at our process? I would do a synopsis of what Danielle sent us and bring it to
That'd be great.
our next council meeting if there's interest in that.
I would love to see that. Fred was here because he has had this issue multiple times where his bills come separately. He writes checks and brings them at the same time,
Cash,
cash at the same times.
always paid in cash.
And he's alleging that he's not even getting his bill in time to meet the deadline. He's getting one of his bills, but not the other, and he does it at the same time, and he's not getting it at the same time. And so he has a late fee on his bill that he doesn't want to pay, doesn't believe it's right that he has to pay it because he didn't have time to meet the deadline, he claims. And
Even though in his
So-
note, he admits that he paid it late, so.
Yeah, get it. I mean, personally, I've had times when it came late enough that it was a problem.
yeah,
So I think, and
I think
look,
revisiting that would be great.
I will put something together for our next meeting.
Could I see
like to stop
could I
this
see
thing.
that too? Is it different cities,
The what?
comparisons of how they do their water bill?
We'll certainly get it, how they, it's just how their timing of when it's due and when the bill's due and that type of stuff before late fees start to apply and that.
Shut off.
It's the timing of how the collection process begins essentially when payment is late.
How many pages is it?
It's an email. I will summarize it and have it at our next meeting, not the 31st, but our next regular meeting.
Yep. Thank you. Anything else from council? So in our new business here, we have resolution 42. Resolution 42 is simply redividing the lot by the by the log cabin to back to the two original lots that it was made. This is that Homes by Advantage project. I think they did a nice job giving a site map on that and showing everything, how the division is. They also showed how those houses will sit on the lot, which I think is nice. There will be a variance discussion on that, which I think council affirmed kind of verbally. But I do
Variance
think
with the road.
it'll be a variance, I think, on a couple different spots. But I
They're
don't
asking
know
for some setbacks,
how close,
so
thank you,
only
Jen.
18
I don't
feet
know
instead
how
of
close
25,
people looked at
and it used to be 8 feet.
the
instead of
drawings and things they
7.
provided.
So they'll have to
What's
have some
left and
renovation
right?
here.
What's east and west?
Not with these people.
No.
Left and right.
So it's
North,
between the,
south.
good, yeah, you were just talking
Okay,
about,
so
it's
what-
between the two houses.
Between the two
The
houses,
road and the sidewalk, whatever, and the one on the east to west side. So it's between the houses and then on the west side are the two variances.
yeah,
They'll be on both sides of the houses, right? Or
So it
both
looks
sides
like-
of the lot too, because it's 8 foot.
On lot 2.
it's required is 8. So this one is 8,
Yep,
so it's good, but this one they got it 7'3" so
they'll
have to get a variance for this lot.
yep,
For 9
Right
inches.
here,
yep,
and
and then
we'll
on
have to get a
the,
variance for here,
Yep.
which required is 25 feet, they're
Right.
requesting 18.
yep. Definitely.
Which actually lines up with the house across the street from it.
Yeah, and it's fine,
And it's
the
really
log
far
cabin,
back this way,
well fed,
you know,
right.
to,
Yep.
to help with visibility. and
Yeah,
intersection.
and the log cabin's the same way, so it's not a big deal, it'll look good in the neighborhood. I like the design of the houses for what it's worth,
Yeah.
looks really good.
And
They look good in
then
there.
some of their design may change, this is
Concepts.
just,
Yeah.
concept may change, yeah, this is just the concept.
Yeah, they,
But, you know.
Yeah.
I think they've done a nice job.
yeah. they're not cookie
Getting square
cutters.
footage.
No, right.
I think the other part that's really nice is when you look at that, the way that's set up. There's a lot of yard in the back too on
Yeah.
both sides for potential, like I was talking to Jen about, a lot of people have garages off their alley and there's a lot of that.
You could have that.
You could have that here, which is nice.
Or a nice fenced in backyard.
Fenced in
for kids or
backyard.
Dog, and
Yeah.
If you want to scroll down a little bit farther,
Yep. It just
Where it
loads a
shows the,
little bit slow. So this is the 2-story house, which is the west house.
and that's
Of
the
the
north
two?
face, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
they'll
the
all face
driveway
north.
going off
The driveway will be by the log
West.
cabin,
Yep.
so we'll lose
Yep.
some parking there, but
That's okay.
Big deal.
That's not a big
And
deal.
that was my only concern.
What's that?
I'm not a real aesthetic guy, but that lower left corner is what you're gonna look at from the log cabin in the park.
no,
No.
the garage door.
The garage door one is what you'll look at from
So
the.
the upper right.
Yep.
I would want windows in there, but probably put some windows in there.
Okay. Cause it looks like,
I'm
That's a
guessing
stock
that's just
drawing
a
on
stock
it.
drawing. I'm sure there'll
Okay.
be windows in those, on those.
cause it
sides.
concerns me is. Like
Especially on
pretty
the two-story.
continuous complaints about the guy that built the machine shed down by us. On a house lot, and people don't find the aesthetic very charming.
Yeah.
That doesn't.
Get
seem
some
like
trees
it.
there and I think it'll help.
What's that?
You Get some trees planted.
Yeah,
Everybody's
There's
taste
no
is
space-
different. That's the
There's no
problem.
space for trees there though, is there?
Oh, yeah.
Between the sidewalk and the,
Here?
yeah.
what
We
was the
might, yeah, there
setback?
would be.
Oh, I thought he had it
18
close enough
feet.
to the street. I didn't think there was. much
18
space.
18 feet
To
is
the
from
side.
the property line, not the curb.
Yeah,
It could be arborvitae
Oh.
or something that doesn't.
Yeah.
It's 18 feet from, I thought it was 18 feet from the curb.
No,
It should be from the
No.
property.
from the
line.
property line.
from the property line.
unfortunately, these are sideways and I haven't figured out how to rotate them yet. We gotta work on our. Document, but this would be the ranch that would be, if you tilt your head like this, Alan. You might get neck pain, but you'll get to see the picture straight on. It,
What was the selling price?
It's a
Did we
ranch.
settle on the selling price?
we don't know what.
We
they
don't know
bought it
that
for.
yet.
That wasn't between us.
So somebody has bought it, purchased it.
Yeah, and they're gonna build these 2 homes there
It's
for
not
infill.
us.
Oh, you mean the purchase price of the lot
Okay. The person that.
or selling price of the homes when they're done?
I'm sorry.
Which question do you have? The selling price of the empty lot or the selling price of the finished homes?
Price is, because we talked about that, how much. is
Affordable?
it Gonna cost.
Yeah, we don't know that yet.
Potential Low to moderate income client.
Yeah, we don't know that
you
yet.
That will only depend on, we have not committed LMI money to it unless it qualifies, and it's the burden of the developer to build the house in a low to moderate income level if they want us to provide those funds. Otherwise, as we agreed that night, they will be responsible for selling those houses at a higher price point if that's where they're at. So we're not on the hook for any LMI money. The only money the city has committed to that is utility reimbursement.
I'll make.
Once they get their certificate of occupancy, they have to be built, finished, and approved to be occupied. So that at that point, that triggers the tax income. And the city then has offered up to a certain amount of reimbursement per lot for utility adjustments.
It's money and some other money.
We'd use TIF to capture it, yes. Back, we'd use TIF to capture it back at the city. So that it would be borrowing from the future taxes to fund it. So to really, it ends up being, it shouldn't end up being an expense to the residents of Slater. Right, in theory.
In theory.
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify with aye. Opposed, same sign, and any abstentions. We now have the nuisance properties. This, I just had it thrown on there. I shared the report with you all that was done on one of the buildings. I contacted the person that owns that building. They're not interested in doing anything. They don't think it's a problem.
He took down the gutter.
He did fix one part of the gutter.
The
He did
gutter is
cut a
bad.
gutter part.
He took
But-
down the broken part of the gutter.
The holes and that stuff are not fixed. I just think it's a timely discussion as we talk about and look at bringing somebody in about how we want to do it. It's on here. We could take action to share the report with the person. And kind of begin moving down a process internally and see how that went for us. We could wait and kick that can down the road till we take official action, but I thought it was an actual example of what we've been discussing a little bit as to what we'd want to do. But there wasn't a lot of interest in remedying the things we discussed, like paint even,
Not surprised.
or fixing the holes or those things, so. Anybody's thoughts or anything on any more of that topic, or? Are we still aligned with our plan to move in July and?
One of the next steps on the one you specifically addressed, but I think the plan was kick the can down the road till we have the official company in place.
Yep,
Right.
okay,
That was just an example of the trip.
okay, and we're still kind of aligned with that. I know, Ken, you were talking about some local research on if somebody want to do it locally.
Not specific.
Okay, all right. All right, so no action there. Resolution 43, this is the Northland Securities Financial Advisor. Jen, you did the research, I know.
Yeah, and Heidi's online with us here.
Oh, cool.
We'll unmute her and the video.
She cool or citizen?
She's right here.
Oh, are you there, Heidi? You can go ahead.
This is Heidi Cool. Are you able to hear me right now?
We can hear you well, yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you for having me tonight. I'm on my way home from another city council meeting, pulling over here in a second. But really tonight is, Jennifer was taking a look at the audit, and with the current sewer revenue bonds that are outstanding, there are some covenants that have a requirement that you have for your net revenues, that you have 110% of the payment. And in the last fiscal year, it was just a little bit short. And so we wanted to come up with a plan to see what the options could be, is if you can pay off some of that debt to get you back into compliance there. Are there some different expenditures that may need to be looked at? But really what this does is gives me the authority to take a look at all of the sewer fund, review all of your cash, and see what options we have to get you back into compliance with those covenants of your SRF loans.
Okay.
So this proposal only addresses our sewer water billing problem, not other general questions about.
At this time.
this.
Yep.
Is that a possibility moving forward?
Heidi, do you provide other financial guidance and advice?
There are several tasks listed.
Sure. I do have several tasks listed. If there's something else that you'd like me to add into that, if it's, not a ton of legwork, we can certainly use this agreement to do that.
Okay.
So what else are you looking for from?
I think one of the things down the road that we talked about is we begin our, well, first just alignment with a financial partner, right? That's gonna understand the city, learn the city, grow with the city. But also as we work and undertake comprehensive planning and then capital improvement planning, the financial strategy and timelining of projects and how they could fit into our budget and the funding sources that could be accessed for those types of projects. Is that the type, do you do anything like that?
Yeah, I do capital planning, especially from that financial standpoint, looking at, whether you're going to be looking at from a bonding perspective, what sources are available. Also looking at how you can build up cash in each of your different revenue sources, to, stay up with, just regular capital expenditures, vehicles and capital equipment. So that's certainly something that that I do. I don't have that comprehensive, full city CIP listed in this particular engagement. This was more related just to looking at an update of your sewer fund, and for that today.
And that's certainly fine. I think our hope is to, as we evaluate financial partners, to be able to understand capabilities for potential expansion on the partnership in the future as needed kind of type of thing. Because we know we're gonna be doing this. So it's good to know you can do that.
I'm fine as just to start into this, just doing the sewer, but I would like to, because right now it only addresses sewer, correct?
Yeah.
I would like to do water and sewer together.
What was that with
Can
sewer?
He was asking about whether it would be feasible to do water and sewer at the same time. We do have.
Certainly.
Do we have we don't have any bonds necessarily on water that would require,
the
that's not an
110%
issue. The 110% is not an issue on the water.
Right.
But I think just
But
the
we are
the
losing
rate
money on
study,
both.
I think would be valuable to determine if our rates are in the right places and what recommended adjustments could be made.
Yeah.
Or if I think the other strategy in this whole thing, admittedly, Heidi, is also in order to avoid, what are our options to avoid rate changes and how should we use cash or money that we do have regarding existing and our open bonds to, we're looking for kind of multiple options and explanations as to what would make sense.
Perfect. With that said, if you're wanting me to take a look at the water, under this contract, I could take a look at the water at the same time.
Okay. Any addition, do you need to change the cost or is your estimate change necessarily? It's 175 an hour, but.
No, not at this point.
Okay.
There's not a, yep.
All right.
It seems like those go hand in hand, so since
It would make sense.
since we're underwater on both, even though the 110%.
Pun intended?
Yeah. The only one we're required is 110% on the sewer because the bond, but.
It'd be good to know.
Since we're losing money on both, seems like maybe we should look at both, even if we only do one at a time.
Yeah. Well, and it always makes sense to take a look at your water, your utilities, even if they don't have bonds every couple of years, just to ensure that as operating expenses go up, that you are maintaining those rates, because as those upgrades come up, it's I know you had a significant rate increase for the sewer project. When if these utilities kind of get a little draw down for year over year, those financial impacts of going and getting a loan for a large project just make those rate increases larger at that point. So it's always good to have somebody like myself to take a look at those every 2 to 3 years.
Perfect.
Who has access to her? Who
I
does she
heard-
talk to?
She'll work for the city, be contracted on behalf of the city of Slater.
Okay, good.
So
I
our
just-
staff here would provide information on that. If you would like to seek her out, she works at Northland and you would be willing to, you're welcome to contract with her or call her and talk to her on your own time as a resident or
At my expense.
at your
Yes,
expense.
of course.
Okay, what about, could I get involved with?
You'll be able to be provided once the rate study is completed, you'll be provided, essentially, Heidi, you can explain it, but essentially what you're gonna do is gather information from us, financial information. You're gonna review that and you're gonna make an analysis with a presentation back to the council.
Yes, and yeah, that presentation will be available, publicly available.
So at that point of the
The issue we
presentation,
had is whether you're gonna raise the rate or whether you're gonna raise the,
we're seeking her guidance and expertise as a financial planner to review all options and review our rates on water and sewer and determine the right path forward.
And then who will she speak to?
She will be here at council and probably, you would come in person if we wanted and present this
Let me
at
know.
completion, right? Yep.
Yes.
Thank you. Perfect. Thanks, Heidi. It would be at a regular schedule meeting. We won't, we're not ever trying to do anything in the dark or nefarious, obviously, so it'll be at a regular scheduled meeting and we will. I think Danielle can make a note and we'd be happy to make sure that we give you a courtesy email.
Appreciate it.
Yes. Yes, and then just so you know, once that presentation is in place, any type of rate ordinance change does require at least 3 readings. And so that would be well after any type of presentation. So no big steps would be happening without multiple council meetings.
Perfect. That sounds great. I'll take a motion if everybody's comfortable with it, unless there's any more discussion. The estimate is $1,500 at $175 an hour, with the estimate being the estimated hours needed.
I move we accept resolution 43.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and any abstentions. Okay, Heidi, thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. We look forward to working with you. Can you tell us what's the turnaround timeline on something like this?
Yeah, if we're taking a look at this, we're into March right now, hoping, maybe by the end of April, we'd be looking at putting something in front of council. And that's probably, assuming all the things kind of come back in
Easy.
appropriate time.
Okay. Yeah, well, we meet the second Monday of each month, so we'd probably slate you in on that May meeting maybe. So that's
May meeting sounds great. The first May meeting sounds great.
Yep, that'd be the 12th, May 12th. So
Perfect.
you can kind of tentatively hope to have you here then. And if you need anything, obviously don't hesitate to reach out.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time tonight, and have a good one, guys.
You too. Thank you. Drive safe.
Physically in Minneapolis.
No, I think she's in the Des Moines office.
Okay.
Bachelor's degree from Buena Vista. They have an office. Yeah, they have an office down here. I know that. I knew that. Yep. Is Fenra? Remember Fenra and Sitka? Okay. All right. The next option on here was the discussion of financial options.
I just, in case we got into
In case you got
detail
it.
with
Okay.
Heidi.
Perfect. Yep, and just to reiterate, I think the council said the objective is to find ways to avoid adjusting rates. And that's why we want the professional opinion, first off, to know where rates need to be, but then secondary, determine if there's ways to avoid rate adjustments or changes. But we are currently losing money on sewer and water at our current rate structure, so. The budget workshop here, budget items.
Do we want to throw the noise ordinance in there before we go to budget?
Yeah, sure, we can talk noise ordinance now. Any questions, comments on noise ordinance?
Yes, I would like to see the right one.
We just want to see the right one for the reading.
So we want to.
And Sue, which one did you pull that from?
Table.
210?
February, yeah.
And so you were looking for it to look like this here on the screen.
Yep.
Yeah.
City of Slater, okay, so the wording was maximum decibels allowed in the city of Slater is 95 decibels. The maximum is reduced to 65 decibels between the hours of 8 PM and 6:59 AM, Sundays through Thursdays. And 11 PM to 6:59 AM on Fridays and Saturdays. These levels shall be measured from the closest public property, including alleys. And the penalties of written warning, $50, $100. Third, you could be arrested if the officer is motivated to arrest somebody. I mean. at
If
their
they're being
discretion.
discreet, Ronald.
So we like this one, so are we good for the second reading on that
To conduct the second reading as
stated?
Yeah.
from the 210. All right, any public comments from anyone?
Waive the second and go to. the
We could
third.
waive the third if we want, waive the second and the third if we want, or we can just go
I
through the
make a
third.
motion, we waive the second and go to the third.
Second.
Good with me?
All right, any other discussion? No? All right, so this will require a roll call vote, so.
Do we need a motion to approve this,
Approve the third reading.
to approve the third?
No,
meeting?
you waived the second.
We waived the
Waive the
second, went to
second
the third,
motion, yeah.
and we've got two motions, and so now we're calling for the vote, and it'll be a roll call vote.
Birdsall,
Aye.
Conley,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
May, Newman,
Aye.
Opposed? Anybody's opposed? Everybody's for? Good, you don't have to do that. Okay,
When does this go into effect?
honestly, Joel,
it has to be published.
your proximity.
So
to
as soon as I
the-
can get it
You'll
published.
Be able to walk over there and.
The only request I
Reader,
make
reader.
is the people that, the two bars.
I'm not worried.
That they're made aware.
Make sure they know.
Mr.
that-
Mayor, I'm not worried about
The date of
the
it.
summer time. Maybe if it- No, what, project or something.
We've had some rages.
I talked to some people at the Historical Association, and they found some old logs where the mayor, like, there was a court in town for disturbing
Oh, yeah,
the peace,
I believe
and
that.
the mayor
We have the jail cell that they used to throw people in.
issued citations.
It's on a trailer right now. It's fantastic.
Disorderly behavior, so it's been done before
Mhm.
on a much more local scale. There's some names
Oh,
in
yeah.
there that you would recognize.
Oh, yeah.
My family, maybe?
I guess so it says police officer, who is that? It says the police officer.
Story County
Story
Sheriff.
County Sheriff.
Okay, why does it say, it isn't not the mayor, it's the Story County, why does it say Story County?
It comes
And
to
do they-
Iowa code a little bit as well, I think comes into
Yeah.
play there, where we as elected officials can enforce the code.
Okay.
I believe at our city level, things like noise ordinances and that. But I can't afford a decibel reader because the mayor doesn't get paid enough. I think it's action that we took. And the enforcement will be up to the general public and council and folks to contact the police. We do need to just make sure we let the sheriff know that,
Yeah,
that'll be going live and that they have a copy of it. They've told us they don't have a decibel reader, but at least if we can make sure they know about it, then they can say, yeah, we got the complaint.
are we willing to accept somebody's decibel reader off their phone? Like if somebody complains, like, hey, I had it at
I think we need to have,
100.
we need to have one available here. If we're
Okay.
gonna have,
Couldn't
if we expect the sheriff's department to.
we put them out there with keys and lock, I mean, some sort of lockbox that the
That they can get
sheriff
into.
could get into and go grab it. and-
I would say if we could have a conversation with the sheriff as to whether they'd even use them first, we should do that. And then go from there and maybe have reported back in April.
You know, just having the ordinance on the books, that's something we can talk about with any problem property owners, and we can make them aware that we have a noise ordinance.
Yeah.
I asked
Doesn't
Jen,
mean we have to
Right.
be out there with a decibel reader right away.
I asked Jen to alert the two bars. I think that's probably the two that make the higher noise levels. So that way they're aware.
Yeah, I think we've set a reasonable time on the weekends to not interfere with entertainment and hopefully they'll comply and. This will just help be an incentive or a thing to avoid getting into, so they'll just end at the time periods that it's allowable.
Are the decibel meters on the phones accurate?
From what little I did research, they're a little variable. It depends on both the software and the phone. So that's the reason I invested in Huawei.
Well, the question is whether Kyra's yelling at Craig is the same every time. Cause when you do it with the decibel reader and then the phone, could be her that's not yelling loud enough at the same
I
time.
never know, I know.
I've heard
All right,
all the way over here.
the fiscal year,
I'm guessing if it wants you to put together all those what if scenarios, there might be more this month.
there might be, yeah. February, fiscal year 2026, budget work session. The only things I really thought that were compelling, because I took the time to sit down with Craig a little bit, I think. And I suppose you have questions maybe perhaps, or a couple things that like I observed through the analysis is, you know, when you really look at our revenues with what our departments have budgeted. and you take out the capital request from them, we really are in a position where we're losing about $20,000 a year. And so I think it's just good to keep that in mind as we think about capital and projects and all these things that right now, the spending, the cost and the revenue, and then you talk about state house legislation that could potentially cap our ability to increase our revenues by 2% on an annual basis. It really, there becomes a lot more financial strategy to, you know, great, these districts are falling off of a TIF district for 10 years and now you're gonna get the taxes, but if that exceeds 2%, then you're not gonna get all of it, you're gonna only get. So there is some legislation too that's interesting in it, but I think it's good to keep in mind that right now, we are losing a little bit of money, which is minuscule in the overall budget, maybe at $20,000 or so, I think the number was.
Once we get all through up, it's actually bigger than that, but.
Okay, and what is it?
About 60 grand. So not
That
dramatic.
can, but that can vary within the loss. I mean, our income.
Yeah, there's all kinds of variables in here.
There's lots of
The interest
variables, yeah.
on the
Yeah.
cash we have.
Yeah. But are you
Property
including the
taxes,
interest?
Yes, right now the interest is.
And we're still losing the 60, so.
Yeah.
I just think it's worth people understanding that it's, that's the case. I know we've used. I kind of understand that what we kind of pull some rollover to help supplement the budgets. On some account basis, is that right?
So right now.
Next year we would be.
I'll back up. a step.
Next year we would be.
Right now, the way Jen's got the budget and the 3-page summary, this taped together thing, the left page is what Jen has right now. We did a lot of work line by line in the budget, and the right page is the same as Jen. But it's corrected to match Central City. So there's a discrepancy, Jen, that's the email I sent you, and we can get a chance to get through though. So, right now, if you include the 175,000 in income, the interest income. If you remove capital, which right now we have 165,000 in capital. And if you remove rollover. So if you just look at where are we gonna be in cash, if we do no improvements, no nothing. Right now we're at 60,000, so that's the corrected one, says the top 26 budget. Right down here at the bottom,
58,000.
58,000,
716.
So, but removing all capital, sure you can do that for a year or maybe two, but eventually things break, we have to do capital. And I removed the rollover because that's an adjustment, we're basically taking that from cash. So it's taking it out of the cash we have in the bank right now. So, I removed those two things, so you said if we do nothing besides subsistence, that's where we come out at. But like I said, it's a fool's game saying we're never gonna do capital, we have to do capital. Things break, things wear out. So, and that's, the things are highlighted yellow, those are the differences, and there's a brief description over on the right hand side. The difference between what Jen and I had, and oddly enough, even though there's some discrepancies on how we got there. If you look at Jen's page, the left hand one of the two, it comes at 76,000. So we aren't much different. How we got there, there's a couple of discrepancies, but it gets to the same point roughly. So I put in a format you guys have been used to seeing for a lot of years. And if you would look at this sheet, this is exactly the same numbers, so I highlighted that same 223,615 They're highlighted in orange, so you can see that they all come to the same thing. One side of this is summarized by the fund, that's the first 3 digits of the account number, and the other one's by department. Department's more simple than what we need to look at your summary, Jen. So, that's where it's at, and that's the exchange Jen and I had today, that the summary that you were looking at from the 3-pager from Jen is a little bit off, but ultimately it comes out to about the same number on the bottom.
So why, just out of curiosity, on like the resource recovery? Why do we lose money on the resource recovery? Because isn't that a pass through?
Resource recovery, we're spending 50,000, we're pulling in 38.5
And then we're using
For
rollover
next year's budget.
12
for 26. That's what I'm talking about, it's 26, fiscal year 26. those numbers we agree on. It's a simple city, what you had and what I had. So we're using 12,000 from rollover to get that to break even.
Is that right? Cause it's just a fee per capita.
We roll in some stuff like the street sweeper into that sometimes and
You'd have your.
tree removal,
You'd have your regular garbage
you
route.
have garbage, regular garbage pickup
Garbage guys pick up.
of
For the
the,
city of
anywhere
Slater.
for, yeah,
Right.
all of that's rolled into that. It's not just what Ames charges us.
So we put. So just, I guess this is it's a minuscule matter, but so we put like mowing on the individual locations or accounts, but we don't do garbage that way.
Correct, garbage is yeah, it's just been one,
Okay,
mainly because.
we do the same with
Well-
electric. Like, do we want, just do utilities or
Yeah,
electric goes to
has
each
their own-
location?
Each department.
But like when we do trash from the park, all that goes into. We could dump it in any dumpster we have that have
Certainly,
room.
yeah,
Yeah.
understand, yeah.
Yeah.
So is it fair to think that that bill
And
annually
sometimes we
is?
move dumpsters to
Yeah.
different locations just for that purpose, you know, if we're having a,
I'm trying
Is
to
it
think.
$12,000 a year to do our
I'm trying to
garbage?
think what our monthly bill is for garbage.
about, this month was what, almost $500. So
So I would say that would be a low.
that's about 6,000,
Yeah.
but that's winter. In the summer, we've got
More garbage.
market, we've got the pool open, we've got park and rec, and we got 4th of July, and yeah, there's a lot during the summer that, yeah, gets picked up.
Okay,
Probably looking at a few $1,000. And if you do a dumpster day, that's all gonna come out of there. But
Yeah.
That's probably at least $1,000 a dumpster, I don't know.
At least, I would
There was
say.
it's like when you mentioned that, there was a company that came around and got appliances, is that?
They don't find that cost effective anymore.
Hmm?
They don't find that cost effective
So are
anymore.
they not doing that?
Place, I mean, so take some spring, but I guess it'd be-
I think who worked,
$10 to $20 per
Oh,
appliance.
they stopped now?
was Kelly that worked, did somebody work with Bell Salvage to do it?
Bell will take water heaters for free.
I just-
Everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Soft water.
I just personally called Bell Salvage a couple days ago, and they said $10 they would take. We had a trailer full though, so they would take them $10 per appliance, but sometimes they say 20 and sometimes they
Yeah.
say 10.
Hard
Well,
to
you
see
have the
training.
trailer loaded and then just keep calling until you get a $10. Run them up there.
Something like that.
In theory, I mean, probably figure out a program like that.
So Jen, a couple of questions that will help maybe, explain some of the difference from prior years. I'm on the one that says 26 budget by fund number. The front and back sheet.
Just a single, yeah.
Yep, and the one that's started, the top left-hand corner says fund number. The employee benefits, we don't show any income. And we have prior, but if I recall right, you said we're building up a rollover. And we can't use that, so you said we're just gonna forego the income this year because we gotta start spending the rollover down.
Mhm. The auditors commented on that we shouldn't be collecting, we shouldn't have a rollover in that, we should only be collecting what we are using.
So I didn't
But if
know
we've
that,
overestimated for like staff that was gonna, use benefits and then they chose not to do.
so that's something I wasn't aware of, so maybe
It's how it
everybody else
got
was, but
built up.
apparently we're reimbursed by the state. For employee benefits,
We can tax for it.
or we can tax for it, so it
Yep.
comes out of property tax.
Yep.
So, but we've been building up an unspent balance, so if you look at that 26 budget by fund number.
$261,000.
Is what we have built up in there, we've been building it over time.
Mhm.
Is part of that our partial self-funding?
No, because you can't spend those tax dollars, that line item of tax dollars has to be spent directly on insurance of some type, whether it's life insurance, health insurance.
Right, but our partial self-funding, is that part of why we've been building?
It's the change of employees being on insurance, not in insurance.
Like you probably budget for all employees to be on it. at a certain
We
year,
had,
and
it-
come down-
we had at some point, and then, yeah, or,
And after 10
Yeah.
years or 5 years or 15 or
Yeah.
maybe beyond that even, who knows?
Well, but we still pay part of the deductible, where is that, what funds do those come out of if
I
there's,
don't think you do that anymore.
did that end? Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Mhm.
My
Yeah,
thought
we
was
haven't done
where,
that in a couple of years.
That was
Yeah.
part of our self-funding thing originally, but that's.
Yeah,
the one.
that's
To keep it, yeah.
my thought was since we're hopefully gonna get a financial planner to work with us. That may be some places, don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting anything illegal, but if there's something creative we can do to get that money moved elsewhere. We can make better benefits for the employees, something. We got 260,000 we think is our cash, not really ours. It's very restricted on what we can do.
Very, yeah.
So that one, you know, it's $5.8 million at the bottom of the page, that one kind of is, because we can't use that for our stuff. Same thing for LMI, right now that's commingled in here, so we can't tell it LMI, but obviously that has restrictions on it. And I think Jen, you're working on trying to get the TIF and the LMI worked out.
Mhm.
Economic development, 309. About halfway down the page, that's 304,000. Part of that is donations to the library, so that's not really ours either, so. Just some things that.
Some fundraising and donations, yeah.
Yeah, it's money that's not ours to be doing with, the
No, like
donations that
general-
we made.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are ours.
it wasn't from, it's not 100% from general fund, it's some donations and fundraising. over
So the
couple of years.
5.8, I don't know what the LMI is, but I'll pull a number out of the air and say that probably $500-600 isn't really ours to spend.
I'm pretty sure I hear that, is it?
No, between the employee benefits, the library and the LMI. But don't hold me to that number because I don't have a clue what the LMI is and I don't know what the portion of the 309, that 300,000, I don't know what the split would be in that money. So just some qualifiers so that you guys know.
Where are you getting the 5?
I get it.
If you're looking at the fiscal year 26 budget by fund number, so I think it's the sheet in your right hand.
Yeah.
If you look at the far right hand column, it says rollover balance February 28. Way on the far right. Are you on the one that says fund number at the top?
Yep.
Okay, on the far right it says rollover balance February 28, 2025.
There's no way to quantify that that's really what the rollover is.
Oh,
As of
I didn't see it.
28.
Okay, now I'm at. I got it.
It's right from your
I
cash.
didn't see
report.
that. This is the only one that have it back.
Did you send these as PDF?
I sent them to you as that city master
Okay.
with a
Yeah,
flag
it's all on
tab
there.
it is.
Okay.
So when you say it's a rollover account, is that also include the funds for the remaining year?
That's the
Yes.
cash
Budget year?
position right now.
That's the cash position right now.
That's
So
past position, but that's not rollover.
Right.
that's just their,
Yeah.
that's
Includes
just, that includes rollover, right? Cause in theory, there's still X amount of months in the year, so some of that will spend down naturally.
But there's income also that hasn't been brought in. So yes, right now it's a snapshot in time. But we have additional expenses for the year, we have additional income for the year, so where will we end up at the
Got it.
30th? Don't know, but if you look at where we ended up last year, we're in the ballpark, I think we lost a little bit because we're showing a little bit of a negative, especially with the capital expenses.
And this cash balance right now does not include Sheldall's funds?
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
It
that's
does.
in the million
Okay.
dollars.
Great, okay, and that is showing in the sewer line
Yes,
item,
Yeah.
okay. All right, cool.
Yeah, and if you go back into this file, if you guys look at that city master, it's actually got last year and 2 years ago.
Oh.
It's just I was gonna try to confuse it with too much
Thank
data.
you.
This just brings up that age of question. So where are we at with Simple Cities going away, right? Is that the one that's the one that's going away? We looked at another program that
yeah.
We looked
a
at
lot of
their other
places
program.
were adopting, and that has turned out to be a kind of a hot mess.
I think the
The
word,
upgrade from Simple City, so the company still owns it, they're just not gonna call it Simple City,
But they
We're gonna quit supporting it.
they're gonna quit
Essentially.
supporting
they're
it,
gonna
yeah.
quit supporting this, but they're gonna support its replacement.
It's
And that's
replacement,
the
which,
one that's got some glitches,
They had some problems
Somewhere
out of the gate.
between glitches
And,
and a hot mess.
catastrophic failure, yeah.
Yeah.
I would go with that word.
I think it was a horrible failure at the beginning and they've admitted that when I
Yeah.
talked to them.
Oh,
higher
for
up
sure,
people.
yeah.
And are there other programs, companies,
There's a small handful. Um,
but they're getting behind this new Simple City 2.0.
some people are, some people aren't, some people have just dropped them. That's why I wanna go and see how these other programs technically function.
Yeah.
I've seen the demonstrations on how the new Simple City is going to function. It looks clean, it looks simple, I mean,
In the presentation.
in reality, I mean, yeah, that's presentation. What's
There's
happening in
cities living on it right
Yeah,
now, right?
there are, I think, 50 to 60 cities actually using it. But still running into a few glitches here and there.
A few compared to what it was.
I think so, yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
their guy told me that they had like 400 cities in the phase where they will onboard throughout.
Yeah. There's several hundred.
So a lot of people are falling there, but I think it's strictly just because you get into a market segment where there's not a lot of financially competitive options.
They're not, it's a small
It's like,
handful.
this is the kind of the smaller city version and it's kind of the cheapest, and then you get into stuff that's like designed for
Bigger
cities
cities,
that own utilities and all kinds of,
yeah.
you know.
But still, the functionality of the new version seems fantastic. It's just, it's.
Is it working right?
Yeah, is it working right? How big of a transition is it gonna be? Yeah, like to talk to a city or two that is just newly transitioned or onboarded onto it and see how many glitches they're running into.
So.
Compared to ones that were doing it 6 months ago.
Consider the source for somebody who not only doesn't enjoy, but despises some of the technology and programming. What, how much support does a program that's been around as long as Simple City require on an ongoing basis?
Right now, how many times do we use it?
Yeah.
I think I maybe used it once or twice a month. Previously,
And
I
that-
mean, in the
does that
last,
require intervention by them? Is there a tweak that they have to do, or is it a?
because, I mean,
Like, do they have to come in and provide more hands-on tech support, or how do they, when you're reaching out to them for support?
Yeah.
when
what
I
does that
reach out to
look like?
them, I put in a work request ticket and they call back and they actually log on to my computer.
So there are
Remoting
still
it.
physical changes that have to be made.
Yeah, there's some of that.
It's kind of I mean, it's kind of an archaic system, right? I mean, Simple City's been around for a long time, but like
For a
the
long time.
functionality is like, if one of us sat down at the computer, it would be like, you wouldn't know what to do really, if
Probably,
you looked at it.
probably not.
Like I've seen.
And
it,
there's
it's
specific
like-
boxes that have to be checked to get the reports correct. If you miss it, then you get the wrong report and. If you don't know those, then you could be completely lost, yeah. Cause it is,
This program that was ancient, it had no flaws, it had all been worked out, that was great.
Yeah.
It was
Was
so
this-
secure, nobody could log.
Is that the computer you still have, the one with the green screen and the little apple comes up and starts to digitally load?
Yeah, and the little,
Yeah.
hourglass comes on.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's not quite that.
And then all of a sudden you hear.
Not quite that bad. Remember
Dial-up
that
comes.
MS-DOS,
Yeah.
completely unhappy.
All right, a couple of things.
cause nobody knows how to use it.
Exactly, we're gonna talk about. Play with it too.
Yeah,
No, I just got rid of that.
go ahead.
A couple of things, since I think that's the most obscene amount of time on the budgets. I think where we stand right now. We're in a survivable state. We're losing $250,000, more or less. I don't think the 165,000 capital we have in here is accounting for everything maybe should have in here. We had a little bit of the apples and oranges. I don't think we're in a crisis this year, but I think that money we're losing is repeatable. I got brought up the old school way, you can't cut your expenses to profitability. So I think that's a fool's game, but if you can't reduce expenses, you gotta increase income. Property taxes, God knows what's happening there, but I sure wouldn't count on getting any more property taxes out of our current legislature.
No, I'm not committed to taking our income taxes down for nothing.
Yeah. So then if we say this.
Which, where do you think they're gonna make that up at? I mean,
Oh, the economy's just gonna skyrocket.
Yeah. I got one of them to actually fess up, that was all for it, he said. that If you collect less and you don't get enough, what are you gonna do? And he's finally confessed that apparently they're planning sales tax. Is what?
Sales tax.
they're gonna increase.
Oh,
the
yeah,
tax.
well, yeah. they're talking about that.
So
That
that's
won't-
why I want to get rid of the
that won't even-
conservation measure.
That won't even make up.
So, if you buy my story of decreasing expenses is a fool's game, that's just a long, slow decline to death. TIF has to be a consideration, both of existing and then any new projects we do. We need to make sure what the kitty is at least part of coming down before we all go into the other benefactors. I do think we need to look at some of the existing ones. Marquita made a mention of, urban renewal areas that we created. And we stopped collecting TIF for the other party. We consider those closed, but apparently they're not, because usually an urban renewal area is 20 years. And you can apparently redo it again for a longer period. After we stop paying the other party. We can apparently continue to collect the TIF for us.
Mhm.
So I think we need to investigate that, because
With
right
a-
now. we're
with
not
a-
paying the
with
other
a-
party, we quit.
With projects, yeah.
So that may be a consideration. Anything we do, as I said, obviously bring to us. Rate study, whether it's the water, the sewer, resource recovery, which isn't a lot, but. Your 25 grand helps, I'd pick up a check for 25 grand. And then pool is obviously, we all say, yeah, it's a money loser, so I was gonna be a money loser, but to what extent? And then grants, we need to do as good a job as we can on grants. Which was a question I forgot to get back to you with, Jen. You're our rep. That might be, from what I understand, a good contact. I haven't called them yet to say, hey, we're here, we're gonna be using you. So if you make that contact to make sure that MIPA apparently is real good for guidance on grants and things. And they, I don't think they do the grant writing for free, but they'll actually write the grant.
Yeah, they don't do it for free,
I
no.
think that part you have to pay for, but. So that's my pontification for the night. Is I don't think we can cut expenses. We have to look at the best ways we can to maximize income. And
What's the-
the things I like best about the TIF, that doesn't hurt our local taxpayers. Whereas the other options do not hurt, but it.
Impact.
It impacts, yes, use the right word.
What's, just out of curiosity, the pool rollover, how much do we have in the pool rollover? That's not a separate fund on its own.
Yes, it is. If you go to the,
There's 61,000 in one, and then there's, I don't know where the other one is. The other one's approximately, the other one's just over
Oh, is it on the
200,000.
backside, Craig?
yeah, but it doesn't have that one broke out.
84,000.
That shows in,
Is that within Parks and Rec?
No, pool has its own line items.
well, I mean,
Whole
just
department.
spitball me, how much is there? One,
Well, there's the
130,
litigation, the 60 grand still sitting there, but I can't remember what the other number is. And I didn't bring my.
But we're gonna use that to fix the heater.
the 61.
right?
Yeah, so the way I'm looking at it, right, like, this is just a project in front of our face right now, is like. The way I see this, if Craig's information's right, is we're gonna use $50,000 a year to break even out of our rollover account. To break even on the pool this year. And so. In 2 more years, we're gonna be out of rollover, or in another year, we're gonna be out of rollover. And the issues are gonna
not going away.
expand. And so it's like, I think that's an example of. You know, just a situation we face, and we're kind of the planning aspect of knowing. What, how, and if we're gonna do is really critical.
And just for clarity, Taylor, you're using 50,000 on a rollover, you're still losing 34.
Yeah, wait,
You're still using 34,000 of general fund.
Yeah, we're still losing 34,000 versus our income.
oh yeah, you're right.
So it's actually, we're a net loss of 80.
So we don't have enough rollover. To supplement the pool for this season and one more season. After we do the heater, we're gonna be pretty much out of their rollover. With no other improvements.
I think it's been,
But we haven't used rollover in the past, so.
no, but it's just come out of general fund.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, we
pool
just-
loss
Yep,
was just part of the.
yeah.
the general fund. Yeah.
I'm looking at us in limbo in this budget year. As we're waiting to get some guidance from some people who know some things that we have not been aware of.
Right.
Until now, so I'm not panicked.
Right, that was.
No, I'm
that
not
was the
certainly at
reassuring
all.
part.
We
We're not-
have the least of the
Yeah.
problems, but $5 million goes fast
Sure.
at 200,
When you.
couple $100,000 a year, and then projects, if you wanna do that.
So, yes,
can go
thank you, Sue.
fast,
That
so-
was part of the message I was trying to say is, Don't get me wrong, I'm worried about long-term, short-term, we're still fine.
I'm,
We have a
I'm
big
not
enough cash
concerned
reserve.
about looking at the long term this year because of the unique place that we're in. Next will be much more important.
Yeah. I just wanna make sure as we look at things like receivers, maybe part of that could have came to us, and I wanna make sure that we don't walk away from those opportunities going forward in the short term.
No. The really hard one is the come to Jesus meeting that's gonna have to happen when that pool wall kicks out, because that's whether or not there's gonna be a pool in Slade, I think is a big question.
Yeah. How much time and money do you keep putting into it?
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the rate it's been going, it's been pretty good considering you thought it was gonna be gone 10 years ago.
Yeah, when I got on council, it was going down.
Right.
Any day,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and I think it'd just be good too to know, right?
Did you
The
put
capital
on when
improvement
Vermont
project.
was still
Tell us,
investigating?
Snyder, what's it cost to build a pool now?
Oh,
If we wanna build a basic
Maybe I was
pool,
just
it's
here.
just
I think it
where
was
and
involved
what's it
versus
cost?
outside.
What are we talking about, you know? Is it $5 million? Is it-
The rebar.
You know what I mean? Just, I don't even have a pinpoint on the figure.
Right, but first of all, if you were gonna replace this one, you're probably over that number, and then the next issue is. It can't be there,
Right.
so you have to completely recite wherever you're gonna put one,
Mhm.
if you're gonna do it, which is gonna double. The cost of it, so you're probably at least at 10.
Dig a pond and Snake Creek.
You have a pond.
There you go. Got a dock on.
We'll probably have to put a sign up that says no swimming on it too, I'm
No,
sure.
we don't.
Really? Interesting.
I mean, you could, it's all in what you want.
That's what I'm saying.
We're gonna
I
allow.
thought the DNR was gonna say no swimming, I was guessing. And then our liability.
Cause we're gonna allow.
Our liability. Is there any other, so just wrap this up, is there any other budget related comments? We've let some of the capital money stay in for some departments, we're good with that. Fire kind of has said what theirs is for, which is the fire's rollover or capital request of, is for what?
Right, so what I think it
Cascade.
was.
Cascade,
To fill your air bottle.
yep, Mark, is that right? You have some capital stuff, the pool. Work, legal. So we're good with just kind of rolling with what it is this year, and then once we get a capital plan and look at that, then looking closer at rollover and how we do the capital outlay and how we prioritize projects and fund projects, financial planner. We're kind of on the same page on that.
So just so everybody's aware, that heater or boiler has been ordered, because if not,
We won't have it.
we won't have it.
And how much was it?
It was just a little over 50.
Okay,
Haven't gotten the exact price yet because.
to purchase, or does that include any installation?
That'll be that'll be
all in.
extra,
The installation's
will be
gonna be on
extra.
top of that.
which shouldn't be a lot. I mean, we'll get rid of the old one. That's no big deal.
Just thinking the labor to install that.
Wouldn't think it'd be, I mean, it all comes.
It
Set
just
it
gets
up
set
and
and
then,
Pretty much the same footprint.
you got a gas
Okay.
pipe and 2 water lines.
Okay,
I remember
There's not
Jada-
much to it.
I remember Jada saying the chemical thing. Is dicey, or that can get another year.
We're gonna look at it all.
Okay, cool.
did they replace parts of that last year?
Hawkins worked on something with it after the one incident, yeah. So. Anything else from you?
Move we adjourn.
You know what, actually, I had another topic. All those in favor signify with aye.
I,
Opposed? Abstentions, we're out.
Is that Joel and Ken?
That was
Yeah.
Joel and Ken,
Ken
and
first,
then
Joel
Joel at 8:34 PM.
You're welcome. I'll wait till 9 or 9. Jump over, maybe 11 in the house, but not outside.
Outside in the flower bed.
There's 2 stop boxes. Yep. She's just outside the house. You can go down and shut them off. If that's. Really bad at night and really bad in the morning. Source throat ever.
Hey, Alan.
Yeah, they don't know which one.
Hey, Alan.